Hello everyone, welcome back. Get comfortable, relax, and enjoy today's exciting fanfic. Now, let's begin part 1. Run Naruto. Kuruma yelled as his best friend and host was being chased by a mob. It was his 6th birthday and every year this happens. Kuruma was loyal to Uzumaki's, they never sought out power and were so peaceful. His host, Naruto, was the last of his clan and Kuruma would do anything to protect him. Kit, I'm going to send some chakra through you, run out the gate, they won't chase you there. Hi, Kuruma. Naruto replied and took off with enhanced speed, thanks to the fox's chakra. Soon Naruto made it to the outer gate of the village and leapt over it. After that, he ran to a tree and jumped into it. The villagers were still behind the gate and started to cheer that the village was safe from the demon. Naruto relaxes on a branch. Thank you, Kuruma. The Kyuubi nodded. No problem Kit, but I think you should leave the village. It's not safe here. But where should I go? And what about Gigi, Ayame-chan and Mr. Ramen guy? Naruto asked. He loved those three, they cared for him the most and he didn't want to separate from them. What about hubby-chan? Kuruma felt sad for his host but he knew Naruto wouldn't grow here. Humans can hold a grudge and he didn't want Naruto to become a hateful person like the Uchihas because of the village. The life of a Jinchuriki. Wait, that's it. Kit, how would you like to make a lot of friends? My siblings are spread across the nation. One of them is where you should go. But what about food? Kit, you are going to be a shinobi in the future. I'll teach you how to hunt, some chakra exercises, how to fight in a certain clone jutsu known by someone I once knew. Kuruma offered. A week and a half passed since Naruto left Konoha. He was standing at a site of the biggest tree he had ever seen in his life and a waterfall to match the size. Naruto learned the shadow clone jutsu, but when he first used it, he produced 60 clones and suffered from chakra exhaustion, so Kuruma had to refill his reserves. Naruto was close to mastering tree climbing and he started hunting rabbits and squirrels. Kuruma also noticed when Naruto was hunting animals, he was sensing chakra around him and also life force. Kuruma knew how some Uzumaki's sensing ability and other possible bloodlines and abilities Naruto could possibly have in the future. The boy will surpass his ancestors, Kuruma will guarantee it. Halt. Naruto turned a guard who came from behind a waterfall. Kit, tell them your parents were killed by a nin and you're an orphan. If they ask what village, say you're from the wave. A kid, what are you doing here and where's your parents? The guard asked. Naruto looked down in sadness and started to cry. I don't have any parents, they died. The Taki guard's heart broke. I have nowhere to go, we were headed to Konoha but we were attacked by a masked man and my parents told me to run. So I ended up here. The guard bent down and put a hand on his shoulder causing Naruto to flinch. Please don't kill me. Naruto mumbled. I'm not going to kill you. Come with me and welcome to Taki. The guard instructed. Naruto nodded and followed. They went through the waterfall and Naruto was amazed. The guard chuckled. What's your name kid? I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto answered. Taki. I thought we were heading to Kumo. I think I made a wrong turn when we left Wave. Kuruma said. Well Naruto-san, I hope you like our village but if you see a girl with mint-colored hair, try to stay away from her. She's dangerous. Kurama's eyes what it sounded like. The guard talked, it sounded like how the adults talked about Naruto. Kit, ask him where the girl stay, to avoid her. Kurama ordered. Is there a certain area I should stay away from to avoid her? Naruto asked. Well, since she was kicked out of the orphanage, she stays under the trunk of our center's huge tree. There's also a lake there. The guard answered. Naruto nodded. Kit, this girl might be a Jinchuriki like you. If she's treated the same, my friend could be sealed inside. Kuruma asked. The guard led them to Shibuki, the leader of Taki mansion. Shibuki-sama. The guard called knocking on the door. Come in. The guard led Naruto to Shibuki quarters, who was sitting behind a desk. There was a girl with mint hair standing next to him. The Chunin guard looked at the girl and scolded a bit, and Naruto recognized the look all too well. He looked up at his guard and saw Naruto. Who's this young man? The guard turned to his leader and bowed. Hi, this is an orphan. His name is Naruto Uzumaki and his parents were killed by a man in a mask. I found him outside our village. Shibuki nodded and waved off the guard to leave. Hello, young man. How did you end up here? My name is Shibuki. Hi there. My name is Naruto, and Naruto gave the same story he gave the guards, causing Shibuki to frown. I'm sorry to hear that. You can stay here as long as you want. Shibuki said, but noticed his attention was on Fu. Shibuki smiled. Naruto-san, this is Fu. Naruto approached the girl and stuck out his hand. Hi, want to be friends? Fu opened her eyes in surprise, then slowly looked down. You don't want to be my friend, everyone thinks I'm a monster. But I don't care what everyone says. Fu snapped her head at Naruto. I have no friends either, and I think you are a regular girl who could use one. Really? You'll be my friend? Fu asked hopefully. Better. We'll be best friends, Dadbao. Naruto said with a foxy smile. Fu's smile grew wide and shook Naruto's hand. She responded, but as soon as they touched, they were standing on water with a green surrounding. Where are we? Naruto looked behind Fu and saw a cage. You were right, Kuruma. Fu tilted her head until she noticed the cage behind her new friends. A red slit eye was seen behind the cage. I see. Good for you, Naruto. I couldn't sense it behind the cage, but I'm glad you found a friend. Fu turned to Naruto with a shocked expression. You're the same as me. I guess so. Naruto responded, rubbing the back of his head. Wow, Kuruma, what are you doing here outside your domain? Naruto looked through the cage behind Fu and heard a buzzing. Naruto was squinting his eyes and saw a beetle. Chome-chan, who is this? Fu asked. This is my friend, the Kyuubi. Kuruma, you didn't answer my question. Not that I'm happy to see you. Listen up, I hate to tell you this, but we were trying to go to Kumo. I'm still glad to see you, I gave the kit the wrong directions. Kuruma said. Fu looked at Naruto and he nodded. Why are you trying to go to Kumo? Chome asked. Well, in the village the kid came from, he was treated like a plague. He was kicked out of the orphanage and was always attacked, no one would sell him food and he was ignored. Kuruma explained. Chome looked at her host and thought about Fu. The same thing happened to her more or less. During the last war, Kushina and Minato encountered a Kumo Jinchuriki, and from what I learned from his comrades, they treated him like a hero. They were calling him Lord B. I was thinking the kid could go there and make friends. Can I go? I want to make more friends. Fu suddenly asked. It won't be easy, I don't think Shibuki will let you. Regardless of how much of a coward he is. Chome said. I think we can use that. Kuruma said with a mischievous smirk. Naruto noticed and got excited. Are we going to play a prank? Naruto asked. Yes, and a great one. Outer world. Shibuki was looking at the two with a confused expression. They were quiet and staring at each other. Are you okay? Naruto and Fu responded by looking around. Ni-san, I have something to tell you. What is it, Naruto? You see, me and Fu are the same. And as we get older, the Biju inside us will slowly take over unless we learn how to use their power. Shibuki started to panic. Kuruma smirked at the reaction. I actually made a wrong turn, I was trying to go to Kumo. I think Fu should come with me. Shibuki looked at Fu. What do you want, Fu? Honestly, I think you should go. You're treated wrong here, and to be honest, I'm sick of it. I never had the courage to do anything about it. It's okay, you tried your best. You were the only one who was nice to me, but I think I should go. Fu said with a smile. Shibuki nodded but frowned. But how do we get you there? Naruto raised his hand and suggested what Kuruma told him to do. In Kumo, the Raikage was sitting at his desk finishing the paperwork after the damage Yugao, the two-tailed Jinchuriki, caused. They sealed the Biju into her and it took a while to control. Raikage-sama, a Chunin shouted, running in the room. What is it? Asked. We have a message from Taki to form an alliance. Really? What could they offer? Unless it's the hero's water, I don't care, not that we need it. A responded. It's better. They're offering the Jinchurikis of the Nanabi and Kyuubi. The Chunin informed. A head shot up at the Chunin, shocked. Really? Kumo will possess 4 Jinchuriki, we'll be the strongest in the nation. Call B, Mabui and Darui. We accept their proposal. To think we'll have 2 more Jinchurikis. A week later B arrived with Mabui and Darui. B led the group to Shibuki Mansion where he was waiting with the 2 kids. B smiled and approached the three. Yo, it's nice to meet fellow Jinchuriki. You can call me the master of rap, Killer B. You have to be with the groove and understand my rhyme. I'm 8. Are you on board, Miss 7N? Fu tilted her head. You're weird. Naruto laughed. That was great. It's nice to meet you, Mr. 8. Darui smiled. The kid raps better than you, B-sama. Mabui Chunin looked at Naruto and smirked. He's a cutie. So did you bring the agreement scroll? B nodded and handed the Taki leader a scroll. He nodded and gave B a scroll, confusing the Jinchuriki. These are jutsus Fofu, they're water jutsus for when she become a shinobi. Naruto can learn from them as well. Cool, I guess we'll hit the road. 7, 9, it's time to go. The two kids nod and both ran to Shibuki and gave him a hug. Shibuki smiled and returned. Goodbye you two, become very strong and remember, you are not just Jinchuriki. You're Fu and Naruto. Thanks for having me, Ni-san. Naruto said. Thanks for looking after me, Oni-chan. Fu said, both kids backing away. The group spoon left. Naruto was on Mabui's back and Fu on Darui's as they leapt through the trees. So, Naruto-kun. My name is Mabui of the Thunder Step. Do you have a last name? Naruto blushed at the suffix. Yeah, Naruto Uzumaki. Mabui's eyes widened. You're from the Uzumaki clan. That's awesome, I heard about them. They were super strong and knew a lot about seals. Well, I'm not sure. Yes you are, I'll tell you about them later. Your mother's name is Kushina Uzumaki. Well, the Kyuubi says I'm from the Uzumaki clan and my mother was Kushina Uzumaki. I've heard of her, she was beautiful as she was dangerous. She decimated over 300 ninjas for threatening her home. I wish I could have seen her. Mabui said in awe. Watching her fight was out of sight, even though I'm the best. She still put me to a test. It was luck that I survived, the Hachibi kept me alive. B said. I have to admit, Uzumaki-san. Your mother was amazing, she wielded a sword with such grace, her mastery over water and fuinjutsu was powerful. She was a SS rank shinobi. Darui said. Naruto smiled. I wish I met her even once. I'm an orphan but it's good to hear stories. Naruto said quietly. Mabui nodded as they headed to Kumo. Hiruzen was looking through his crystal ball for his surrogate grandson. It's been a few weeks since he last saw the blonde and he was worried. Where are you, Naruto-kun? Please be alright. Inu, Weasel and Cat appeared in front of the leader kneeling. Hoke-sama, I have some info. Cat said. Report. Hiruzen ordered. Hi, it seems Naruto was kicked out of the orphanage 3 months ago and was living on the street. Hiruzen seethed. I was giving them money to take care of Naruto-kun and he hasn't been there. Anything else? Hi, it seems like he might not be in the village. I sent my dogs to track him and they smelled his scent outside the gate. I assume he was chased out of the village. Inu said in anger. He felt like he had failed his sensei's son. He wasn't in the village and because of that, Naruto was gone. Hiruzen sighed and stood up. It's time the village knows what they did and who they did it to. I kept his heritage a secret and the village believed Minato transformed the fox Inet Naruto. If I had informed them earlier, things might have been different. I'm going to make the announcement, gather the villagers in front of the tower. After half an hour, the villagers gathered in front of the tower wondering what was going on, while some had a suspicion. Hiruzen on top of the tower with a grim expression. He gathered his wits before speaking. Hello Konoha, I hid a secret from you about Naruto Uzumaki and now I regret to inform you he is gone. I'm not sure if he's alive or not but it doesn't matter now that he's not here now because of how this village treated him, he might not come back. Now some of you might be thinking, no one cares about the demon and we're safe but what you've done was committed an act worse than treason. I hid the identity of his parents and heritage from you thinking I would protect him from his parents' enemies until he was strong enough to defend himself but I failed. Have any of you wondered where a boy appeared out of nowhere to be sealed and why Minato chose him? And just in case you think Minato transformed the Kyuubi into a boy, you're wrong. There's no jutsu that can force a transformation on another. Then where did he come from? A civilian asked. You see, only a very few people knew this but Naruto was not the first Kyuubi Jinchuriki in the Leaf Village, in fact he was the third. The Kyuubi has been in our village for over 100 years. The first was Mito Uzumaki Senju, the second was Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze. You see, the Uzumaki chakra consists of yin chakra that can neutralize any form of chakra it touches. That's why Uzumakis are the only ones who could handle the Kyuubi massive chakra. Now you may be wondering, how did it escape? Well, you see, a female Jinchuriki seal weakens only one Pacific time. When she gave birth, to make sure the Kyuubi wouldn't escape, Minato made sure the seal was stable when Kushina gave birth, but something unfortunate happened. Someone found out about the secret and attacked Kushina and used her son as a hostage to get to her, ripping the Kyuubi out of her and taking control of it. The civilian gasped. What happened next? Sum asked. She was best friends with Kushina and she was desperate to know what happened to her son, which was Sum godson. The intruder infiltrated the village and summoned the Kyuubi within, so in retrospect, the Kyuubi wasn't at fault for the attack either. Minato fought him, but as strong as he was, there was no way he could beat a Biju. Biju are immortal and the only way was to seal it away. That's where Naruto came in. Him being a Uzumaki was the only way to save the village, so Minato sealed him away in the boy, even though he didn't know about Uzumakis being the only ones to handle the burden. This caught everyone's attention. If he didn't know, why did he seal it in Naruto? A civilian asked. The civilians wonder the same thing. Well, what kind of Hokage would he be if he used somebody else's son but his own? Hiruzen said. Everyone's eyes widen and gasp. Some started to shout lies while others looked down in guilt. I know some of you don't believe me, but think about a couple things. 1. Why would I lie about it now that he's gone? 2. Why did Naruto have blonde hair and blue eyes like Minato? 3. Why would he just hypnotize the shinobi and not the civilians if he was the Kyuubi? After all, with his chakra, he could have killed everyone. 4. Why did he never respond to violence when attacked? If we were hypnotized, why didn't he command the shinobi to kill you civilians every time you attacked him? 5. Why did he cry? Why did he want friends? For 6 years he was here and we're still alive. And if you still don't believe me, Hiruzen took out some documents and spread them across the village. There were multiple copies of Naruto's birth certificate and pictures of Minato and Kushina pregnant, holding a peace sign. This is her handwriting. Everyone turned their attention to Sum. It even confirms that me, and Mebuki is his godmother. He was their pup the whole time. I could have done, something. Why didn't you tell us? Sum said, breaking down in tears. Everyone was shocked. No one ever saw Sum, the toughest woman in Konoha, cry. I'm sorry, Kushina-chan. Sum repeated, kneeling on the ground. Hiruzen turned towards the village. I kept Naruto's heritage a secret to prevent Iwa or Kumo getting to him. Iwa holds a grudge towards Minato because of what he did to them in the last war, and Kumo attempted to kidnap Kushina to breed when she was a child. That's why I couldn't risk it, and it was my mistake but not my only one. I shouldn't have released the boy's status as a Jinchuriki, and I shouldn't have been naive to trust the village. Because of your fear, there's a good chance he was taken by one of the other villages. Minato wanted his son to be seen as a hero and have a normal childhood. He never asks to be spoiled or anything. But your hatred and grudge blinded you. But we lost family that night, we were upset. A civilian said. I understand, but so have I. My wife died giving birth to Naruto. Sum-chan lost some clan members, and the worst of it, Naruto-kun lost his parents that night. His father sacrificed his life for the village and all he wanted was his son to be loved. Naruto had it worse than anyone in the village. What would Minato think if he was to find out about this? But he can't die. Minato's soul is trapped by the Grim Reaper for the price of using his power to seal the fox. You may believe what you want, but that's the truth. You should also thank Naruto. If he gave into his negative thoughts or committed suicide, the fox would have escaped. We should look for him. A civilian yelled. More started to agree. Hiruzen was happy they realized their mistakes, but he didn't think it would work. Then what? What if he doesn't want to come back? Remember, you overcharged him on everything, sold him rotten food, beaten him, kicked him out of places and attempted to kill him. He probably fears you as you feared him. What if he found a new home and doesn't want to come back? Hiruzen said in a cold tone. We can try. Hiruzen turned to Sum. I'll do anything to find the pup. I never attacked him, but I admit I never helped him, but I'll do everything in my power to find him and make it right. The crowd agreed. Hiruzen shook his head. I'll do everything in my power to find him, but I can't do this alone. If he comes back, things will change. Agree? Hiruzen asked. Hi. The crowd said. Hiruzen gave a soft smile then frowned. Naruto-kun, I hope you're alright. Oh my Kami, Anko was right. And worst of all, Naruto was Sensei's son. A genjutsu mistress said. She remembered what she said to the blonde and was starting to feel guilty. B and his group arrived in front of the Raikage's door. B knocked on the door and they went in. Naruto and Fu saw looking at them. Fu was nervous but Naruto was in awe. A man probably as strong as his Gigi was in front of him. Wow, you look strong, Oji-san. Everyone was god-smacked that the blonde called their leader uncle, while Fu was giggling. A smirked. Haha, I like you already, kid. I can tell just by looking at you that you're the son of my most respected rival. So why don't you introduce yourself? I'm Naruto Uzumaki, the strongest ninja ever. Naruto said. Respected the intro, already set a goal for himself. I'm Fu, I don't have a surname but I'm going to be the strongest kunoichi ever. Fu said. Interesting, why do you want to be strong? I asked. To protect my friends in my new home. Fu and Naruto said together. I nodded in approval and noticed Mabui, 14 and is the Raikage's daughter, staring at Naruto in awe. Funny, she never showed interest in a guy. The Gaki might be special. Plus he's an Uzumaki. I can send him B and Fu to the island to train till they are old enough to join the academy. Uzumakis are great in Fuinjutsu, Kenjutsu, Futon and Suiten. B I want you to take Fu and Naruto on the special island and train them. They should be ready when the academy starts. Ordered. Bro, what about Yugi? She's fine, she conquered her hatred and she has Samui, I believe in her. You're training two Jinchurikis, you'll have a hard time as it is. B nodded. Good, help these two, just make them physically stronger and conquer their hatred. They're not ready to face their Biju but it should make it easier for them to use their chakra. I got it bro, you can count on me Killer B. A sigh, his brother raps were annoying. Just go. B nodded and took the kids with him. After a few days of travel, B made it to the Jinchuriki temple. B turned to his students and smiled. Alright listen up yo, we're going to build your muscle, so you two will hustle and the training will make you feel pain, but you will have a lot to gain. Nothing can go wrong, cause you'll be strong. Just follow me, the almighty Killer B. What? Fu asked. Basically, he said, listen to him and he'll make us stronger. Naruto said. B smiled at Naruto. Yo, got my rhymes but now we are out of time. Time to train, no pain no gain. Please stop raping. Fu begged. B giggled and nodded. Fine, for our training. We are going to be doing training exercises like standard workouts, chakra control practices and finding a taijutsu style for you too. Also you'll learn of your affinity. I'm going to strengthen your body and mind, you'll need to be strong to use your partner's chakra. We have 2 years, so let's get to work. Anko just arrived from her month-long vacation. She never had a break from interrogation and completing missions, trying to get promoted. She wasn't looking forward to heading back to Konoha but mostly seeing her friends, Hana, Yugao and her special friend Naruto. She had rescued the blonde from a mob and they naturally bonded, being outcast and all. She had to apologize to him for not seeing him in a month. He was already afraid of people and she was worried he might be more reserved. She decided to create an entrance. Hiruzen was reading his book, giggling like a schoolgirl when something burst through the window. He sighs, Anko was due back today and he had a feeling this was her. He looked up and saw Anko landed in front of him with a big smile. Anko Midarashi, returning from a vacation. Welcome back, can you stop breaking the windows? Hiruzen asked. Nope, it makes my entrances better. Can I be reinstated? I need to go. I owe a blonde fox some ramen for being gone too long. Anko asked. Hiruzen paled. He forgot, Anko wasn't here for the announcement. Anko, there is something you need to know about Naruto, Hiruzen started, gaining the snake user's attention. Outside the tower, everyone was minding their own business when they suddenly felt thunderous killer intent out of nowhere coming from the tower. What? He's been gone for almost a month and no one found him. Anko seethed. Hiruzen was sweating a bit. Anko K. I was higher than his own and he knew what this woman was capable of when she was pissed. Damn this village. Enko turned around and was about to storm out the room. Enko, where are you going? Hiruzen asked. I'm going to find him. Naruto-kun is a survivor and I know he's alive. He's alone, we're alone. I won't abandon him, Enko said without turning around. What about your friends? Yugao-san, Hana-san and Kur. Hiruzen paused when Enko ki flared. Enko calmed down and breathed. Kurenai and I aren't friends at the moment, Enko said in a quiet tone. When I saved Naruto from a mob, I took him to a dango shop for food. You should have seen him eat. The Gaki hasn't eaten in days apparently. When Yugao and Kurenai walked in, Yugao greeted Naruto-kun like a normal person but Kurenai. Flashback. Slow down Foxy-kun, don't go choking. Enko said to Naruto. I'm sorry, no one would give me any food. Thank you for being nice to me, Naruto said. Enko giggled and patted Naruto's head. No problem, what are friends for? Enko replied. Friends? We're friends? Naruto asked, looking hopefully. Sure, I can use a friend as funny as you. You're stuck with me, Enko said. Naruto stared at the snake user and glommed her in a hug. Enko gave a rare warm smile and returned the hug. Naruto pulled away and returned to eat. Well, hello Enko-chan. Enko turned to the source of the voice and saw Yugao standing there smiling. And who's the cutie? Yugao knew who he was from her Anbu job but she acted the part. Enko smiled and hugged Naruto, rubbing their cheeks together. This adorable fox is Naruto-kun. He's my new friend. Yugao nodded and sat next to Naruto. He flinched a bit until she ruffled his hair. Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you. You know I wouldn't mind being friends with a cutie like you. Really? Yay, I have more friends. Naruto cheered. What's with all the? Kurenai asked to walk into the stand but paused when her eye landed on Naruto. Soon her mind started picturing the Kyuubi stepping on her father. She glared at the blonde, causing him to flinch. What are you doing here? Leave. Enko gave Kurenai a confused look. Kurenai, stay quiet. You, boy, leave, this place isn't for the likes of you. And you try to take advantage of my friends. If you don't leave now. Kurenai threatened. Naruto didn't give her a chance to finish and ran crying. Kurenai sighed and turned to her friends. Sorry about that, Enko, you should be careful. She didn't get to finish when Enko grabbed her by the throat. What was that? How can you treat a kid like that and easily dismiss it? Enko said glaring at the genjutsu mistress. Kurenai returned the glare. How could you endanger us by hanging around him? It's not like I attacked him. I just told him to stay away from you for your own safety. Safety or your own fear? The kid is 5 years old, do you know what that means? Enko asked. Kurenai shook her head. Enko tossed her to the ground. 5 years without no one dying. 5 years without any sort of destruction or any massacre. You think he would want revenge for all the attacks? He can't do anything because the Yondaime weakens him. Kurenai retorted. Really? So you know what technique the Yondaime used? Tell me, what's it called and how does it work? Enko asked. Kurenai was quiet. Honestly, she still thought the boy was the fox reincarnate spirit. The fact it disappeared and the blonde appeared out of nowhere made sense to her. Let me guess. You think the fox turned to the boy? Kurenai was snapped out of her thoughts and turned to Enko. Why a boy? Why not an adult or another demon form? Why stay in that form for 5 years receiving torture and not transform? I don't know why. Kurenai answered honestly. Exactly, you just believe what everyone tells you even though 90% of the people here are dumbasses who know nothing of the shinobi arts. You let your emotions take control of you and justified hurting a kid as justice because of your misguided belief. I'm disappointed in you, Yuhi-san. When Kurenai heard Enko call her that, her heart broke. I'm going to find the Gaki and protect him. If you try to hurt him, you'll end up in the hospital. This is your only warning. Flashback end. Hiruzen looked down in guilt. It's my fault. If I hadn't told everyone Naruto's secret, he would have been here, everything would have. It's not your fault. Hiruzen looked at Enko. You could have done things different but the way the villagers act isn't something you could control. You can only try to do things better. Naruto-kun is alive. I know he is and we'll see him again one day. Hopefully soon. Now if you excuse me, I'm going to get some dangos and sake. Fine, You're dismissed and Anko. Thank you. Anko gave the Hokage a nod and proceeded to her favorite place. Kurenai wasn't feeling well. Ever since the realization of the blonde Jinchuriki, Kurenai was feeling foolish. She prides herself of being a great kunoichi, smart, strong and looking underneath. She let her fear and hatred take over, treating a kid like a monster when he just wanted a companion. She walked in the dango stand and saw Anko at a table eating some dangos. Here goes, Anko-chan. Anko looked up and saw Kurenai. I don't have time for this. Anko mumbled. Anko-chan, how have you been? Kurenai greeted me nervously. Fine. I just learned that the only person who understood me left the village because idiots like you. Anko sneered. Kurenai flinched at the tone and looked down in shame. About that, listen, I was wrong. I was angry about my father's death and took it out on an innocent kid. I let my anger take control of me and I wanted to say I'm sorry. Anko was staring at her friend then sigh. I want to forgive you but I'm not. Because of you and many others, Naruto-kun is gone. I don't know if he's alright. The only way I'll forgive you is if I find him alive and well. Kurenai looked down in shame. I understand, I'm here for you. Kurenai said, but Anko responded by downing another shot. Naruto, I promise I'll find you for Anko's sake. Kurenai thought. She was determined to find the blonde and make things right. Alright, listen up, since we three are Jinchuriki. We got more chakra than most, so while we train I'll be your host. We will work on our chakra until our control is fine, understand Miss 7 and Mr. 9? B said. He brought the two kids to the Jinchuriki temple and forest. What? Fu asked confusingly. I'm going to teach you how to control your chakra. Then you and your Biju come up with a taijutsu style. I'm going to train you in shuriken throwing, a few low-level ninjutsu and stamina exercises. As a Jinchuriki, using your Biju chakra will exhaust you. Once the basics are done, I'll teach you to wield a weapon or two since every Kumo nin uses one. Do you understand? Hi sensei. Both Fu and Naruto responded. Knock knock. Come in. Said. When the three Jinchurikis walked in, smiled and leaned back in his chair. So, how was 4 years on the island? It was fun, Oji-san. I wish we could have stayed there longer. We could have got so much stronger. Naruto said. A chuckle. True, but the academy starts in a few hours and I thought it would be good for you to make some friends. Plus it would have been unfair for Yugito if you train even more than she did. Why reason I allowed was because your bijus are stronger. A thought to himself. Really? I can make more friends. Naruto-kun, we have to go. Fu said excitedly. Fine, let's go. It could be fun. Naruto said. Before that, Naruto, I want to tell you something. Do you have any idea who your father is? Asked. Naruto gave a small smile. Hi, I know. Kuruma told me. Well, good. I would be honored if you use both your parents' names. I respect both of them and I feel it would be right if you would use them. Said. Naruto nodded. Yay, I would love to. Nodded in approval. Good to hear. B. Take them to get some supplies and then to the academy. Can't have our new students be late. You got it, bro. Come on, you two. Let's get this show on the road. B said, leading his two Jinchuriki out. Alright, class. We have 2 new students joining us. The Kumo instructor said to her class. Please welcome Fuan. I gasps in surprise when she reads the next name. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. The class started to whisper when they eyed the blonde. He's kind of cute. Wonder if he's dating that mint hair girl. Isn't Namikaze the name of the yellow flash? Most of the girls said. Samui eyed Naruto. She had a thing for strong men, but a name doesn't make anyone strong. Hopefully he's not a joke like these other boys. Samui thought before turning to her friend. What do you think, Yugito? Potential new friends. I don't care. We're not here to make friends. But if they are strong, I'll have to test them. Yugito said. You won't have to worry about friends with that attitude. We're people too, Yugito. Don't isolate yourself. Yugito gave her friend a look of disbelief. You're the only one who thinks that. Everyone else sees me as a freak, a monster or a nuisance. Yugito said coldly. Samui shook her head and faced forward. Naruto and Fu walk up to the row the 2 blondes were on and see 2 extra seats. Excuse, would it be cool if we sat here? Naruto asked. All the girls, which confused the two Jinchurikis. He's going to sit next to the freak and ice princess. They're going to hurt him. Naruto-kun, don't. The girl with the ponytail is dangerous. I would listen to them. Naruto and Fu turned to Yugito, who was glaring at them. You don't want to sit next to me or you won't have any friends. Samui frowned and turned to the new students. Don't listen, it'll be cool if you sit here. Just don't bother us during class or interfere with our studies and you'll be fine. My name is Samui by the way. Samui said and elbowed Yugito. Yugito narrowed her eyes at Samui but it was returned. The two stared at each other for a while but Yugito gave in. Yugito ni, there. Hi, I'm Fu. I want to be friends. No. Yugito responded. Fu looks like someone crushed her soul. Naruto saw this and gritted his teeth. What's your deal? She just wants to be friends. Naruto asks. Yugito shifted her eyes towards Naruto. We're not here to make friends. We are here to be ninjas for our village. If she wants friends, go somewhere else. Kitten, you need to open up. Make some friends. I'm sorry for what I did but don't do this. Neither of us are weapons. We have emotion and don't bottle yours up. Matabi said. Stay out of it, it's better this way. No one will get hurt. Besides, those two will run away once they learn about you. Yugito responded with sadness. We'll be your friends. Naruto turned to the front of his desk and Omoi was holding out 2 lollipops. Name's Omoi, here, a sucker for you and your friend, the white-haired boy said. Fu took hers quicker than Naruto. Karui, my name, the redhead said, offering a fist bump. Fu followed through with the fist bump. Don't worry about these two, me and Omoi tried talking to these two but Samui won't be friends with anyone unless Yugito does and Yugito had denied us. Speak for yourself. Samui said. It's true, because you're the best kunoichi doesn't mean you can boss me around. Karui retorted. Naruto's eyes widened. She's the best. Naruto asked. She's the best overall. Nobody, boy or girl, ever beat her in a fight. Yugito is not far behind. Omoi explained. Samui looked at Naruto and Fu to analyze their reaction. Most people get scared to fight her once they hear this. Naruto smirked. Sweet. I can't wait to fight you now. Naruto said with a predator grin. Samui was shocked and smiled a little. Wow, you're strong but you can't beat Naruto-kun. He's definitely stronger. Fu said with confidence. Samui turned to Naruto, hardening her gaze. Really? We'll have to see. Yugito looked at the two, she wouldn't openly admit it but she wanted to be friends with the two but she didn't want to be betrayed again. It's been 4 months since Naruto joined the academy. To the surprise of everyone, except Fu. Naruto and Samui were equal in terms of skills and knowledge, in fact they were the only students to have a perfect score in everything but Genjutsu. Samui believed Genjutsu was cowardly and Naruto didn't have enough control to perform them. Samui had Naruto beat in Kenjutsu but speed and Taijutsu, Naruto was superior. They form a rivalry but Samui still refused friendship until Yugito accepted it, to Naruto irritation. Naruto and Yugito were always at each other's throats. When he asked Fu why she didn't give up on her, Fu responded with, everyone deserves a friend or two. Fu also said there was something about her that drew her in. Naruto felt it too but he was just too stubborn to acknowledge it. Naruto became best friends with Omoi, well second to Fu, and they had some Kenjutsu rivalries. Naruto only used borrowed sword sense, he didn't have a sword he was comfortable with. Fu was best friends with Karui, while Karui was always hot-headed, when it came to Fu, she was calm and cheerful. Karui thought Fu was an adorable sister. Yugito was pretty much the same towards the other two Jinchurikis. She felt a pull from the others. She didn't know what it was. A familiar feeling but she always ignored it. She was impressed by how strong the two were. She assumed they would be a joke with cheerful demeanor but she was tied in strength with Fu. The weird thing was that Fu's personality changed when she fought, just like Naruto's. They become focused and determined, even when Fu loses to her. She goes back to her cheerful nature and the sad part was that Fu's cheerfulness was drawing her in more. Naruto had made some fangirls in Fu, alongside Samui made some male worshippers, Fu being innocent and needed to be protected. Samui being badass and hot, drawing in some soon-to-be perverts. As of the moment, the class was going to have another taijutsu match. Alright, now Fu versus Yugito. To the ring. Both Jinchurikis made it to their respective sides. Good luck Yugi-chan. Fu said. Don't call me that, Yugito said. Some kids were mumbling about the freak being rude. Naruto knew Yugito was being rude and she was strong, but these kids were calling her a freak. In fact, they had been doing it for months, but it didn't bother her at all. What was the reason? The only conclusion was that she was a Jinchuriki. He asked Kuruma and the fox said that it was possible, but he couldn't sense outside the seal. Plus he assumed B would have told him and Fu. What else could have been? Alright, this will be a taijutsu fight and it's over when I say, ready. Begin. Yugito charged forward towards Fu and went for a roundhouse kick. Fu bent backwards to dodge. Yugito saw this and went for a swipe kick, but Fu jumped in the air above the blonde and corrected herself. Fu went for an axe kick. This time Yugito blocked it and grabbed her leg and swung her towards the ground. Fu used her hand to catch herself and threw a kick towards Yugito's chest, causing the blonde to release the mint girl. They both stood still and charged each other, exchanging blows. Fu mostly dodged and kicked as Yugito blocked and threw punches. Who do you think will win? Omoi asked. Naruto narrowed his eyes. Fu, Yugito is getting frustrated and it will soon cause her to waver since her desire to win is greater. Fu is more focused and patient. She prepares for anything. Yugito is stronger, but she has been annoyed by Fu for a while and I think it'll cause problems. What's Yugito's problem? I wish I could tell you, but that's her secret. Anybody who speaks will get hurt by Samui, not that it's a big deal. Karui and I don't care, but she doesn't trust no one. Omoi said. Match over. Naruto and Omoi turned to see Yugito on the ground. Fu let out a breath and smiled. She lent a hand to Yugito. Need help? Good fight. Whatever. Yugito said, smacking her hand away. Naruto had it and walked up to Yugito, grabbing her by the collar. What is your deal? Why are you so stubborn? At first, I didn't care, but Fu sees something in you and frankly I think you should drop the attitude. Yugito narrowed her eyes. Why should I listen to you? If you want to know, I'll tell you. I don't trust you, you and Fu having fun with your friends being normal. You have no idea what it feels like. To be different, to be alone and to be glared at. Treated differently for something you can't control. Yugito's glare softened when Naruto started to shake. You think I don't know? He threw Yugito on the ground and when she looked up, Naruto was crying. I know, alright, in Konoha. Every year I have been attacked on my birthday since I remember. I got kicked out of stores, I never knew my parents, parents told kids to ignore me, I was kicked out of the orphanage after I turned 5 and lived on the streets. I was alone, I was called a monster and people hated me, so don't talk like you know me. Naruto said before taking off. Fu was about to explode until she heard the other students calling Yugito a monster and a freak. Yugito was crying, but not because of the insults. It's because Naruto understood and he was dealt with worse than her. She assumed because his father, he was treated better, but by his eyes, she could tell he wasn't lying. Why? Yugito looked up at Fu, who was looking at her with a saddened look. Why does everyone here look at you like a freak? Fu asked. You hurt Naruto-kun, so I want to know. Yugito didn't answer. She didn't know what to do. She has the Nibi seal in her. It's in her gut. One of Naruto fangirls yelled in rage. Yugito's eyes widened and looked at Fu, who didn't say anything. Fu-san, you should stay away from her. Fu did something that surprised everyone and hugged Yugito. Before Yugito could say anything, Fu pulled back and smiled. I guess I should reintroduce myself. My name is Fu. Fu stood and stretched out her hand. Jinchuriki of Nanabi, nice to meet you. Fu said, shocking everyone. Samui for the first time, mouth dropped. Yugito's eyes widened with tears coming out. What? You mean we're the same? Fu channeled chakra to her stomach and a seal appeared. Yugito saw this, stood up and hugged the girl. Matabi, did you know? Yugito asked her tenant. No, because of the seal, I couldn't sense it. But you now have a true friend. Chome is really nice, she's a lot of fun. Matabi replied. Yugito nodded and pulled back from Fu. I'm sorry, I just didn't want you to be hated because of me. It wouldn't have been fair. Fu shook her head. No, I should have known by how you were treated that you were a Jinchuriki. So should have Naruto-kun. Yugito tilted her head in confusion until it struck her. You mean? Fu smiled and nodded his head. That's right, Naruto is a Jinchuriki too. He has. You know what, I'll let him tell you. Samui approached the two. Wow Yugito, I guess you're not alone. Pretty cool to have people who can understand you. Yugito looked at her best friend and nodded. Fu turned to the class and frowned. You heard that, I'm a Jinchuriki too, and so is Naruto-kun. So go ahead and hate me if you want. I don't care. But think about this, have we ever hurt you? Have we ever attacked you? No, you're the monsters. Always making us feel different, it's not fair. We just want friends and to have fun, but you all just treat us like freaks. Back in my village, I had no friends, no one would feed me when I was hungry and my parents died when I was 3. Still ask yourself, since I've been here, have I ever attacked any of you? Haven't I always been nice? And Naruto-kun, are you girls going to hate him too? He treated everyone fairly and defended me, does that make him a monster? Fu asked everyone. No one said anything. I'm still your friend. Everyone turned to Karui. I think it's kinda cool. There's no way someone as adorable as you can be a monster Fu. Naruto's my buddy, funny guy. There's no way some like Naruto is a monster. Yugito, if you need a friend, you have one in me anytime. Omoi said, tossing her a lollipop. I'm sorry, I'll be your friend. And me. Me too. I will. Many of the class said. Yugito couldn't believe this. The class was apologizing to her and wanted to be her friend. Sure, I don't mind. Yugito said, trying to act tough. Fu gave Yugito a victory hug. Can I be your friend Fu? Samui asked. Fu stared at the girl, then pulled her into the hug. Sure, I'll be your friend Samui-sama. Me too, Samui-chan. Please be my friend. A lot of the boys volunteered. Off. Samui said in a cold tone. All the guys backed off. My only friends are Yugito, Fu, Omoi, Karui and Naruto-kun. The four mentioned looked at Samui, who was blushing when she said Naruto's name. She turned to them and glared. What? Nothing. Does she like Naruto-kun? They thought. Fu took Yugito's hand and ran towards the academy exit. Fu, where are we going? To find Naruto-kun, he doesn't know you're a Jinchuriki. Sorry Samui-chan, Karui-chan. This is something we have to handle. Fu said, dragging Yugito. It's cool, good luck. Samui responded. Karui nodded and turned to Samui with a smirk. Naruto-kun. Karui asked. Shut it, he's mine. Samui responded. We'll see. Karui said with a blush. Omoi chuckled. Samui, Karui and Fu, Naruto, you are lucky. Naruto was on top of a mountain, looking over the village. He felt guilty about snapping at Yugito and leaving. He needed to calm down. Yugito had her own problems and she was alone, he should have seen the mask she was wearing. I need to apologize, knowing the class. They're probably giving her a hard time. Even at a time like this, you still worry about others, how are you feeling, Kit? Kuruma asked. Pretty shitty, she was already having a hard time and now, I think I made it worse. Naruto answered. Things will get better, I have a sense for these things. Kuruma responded, trying to cheer up his host. Naruto nodded. Naruto-kun. Naruto turned around and saw Fu and Yugito. Hey Fu-chan, Yugito, listen, I'm sorry for yelling at you. You already had it rough and I probably made it harder for you. Naruto said, surprising Nibi host. No, I thought keeping you away from me would help you make friends and maybe not feel what I felt. Yugito said as she and Fu sat on different sides of Naruto. I learned that you are a Jinchuriki like me. Naruto's eyes widened and turned to Fu. Why did you tell her? Wait. Like you. Yugito nodded. That's right. Wait. Fu said, cutting them off. How about we just go and meet the Biju? Fu said, putting her hand forward. Naruto nodded and put his hand on top of Fu's. The two turned to Yugito and nodded. Yugito followed suit and put her hand on top of Naruto's and blushed. It feels warm, she thought until she was in a white domain. Where are Kuruma-kun? I can't believe you here. If I knew the blonde stud was your host, I would have told her to ride him ages ago. Matabi said, pressing her against her cage. Mata-chan. You were here, my love. Sorry I couldn't sense you. These seals were preventing it. Kuruma said, clawing his cage. What's going on? Naruto asked. Well, you see, Kuruma and Matabi are mates per se, and it's been a long time since they saw each other. Chome said. I thought all Biju were brother and sisters. Fu said. No, we have no blood, so we can't really be related. Even if we were, we're demons. Human rules don't apply to us. Chome said, then turned to Yugito. It's nice to meet you, Yugito-san. You gave Fu a hard time, but now I know why. You shouldn't worry about what others think. Please, for now on, open up. Don't isolate yourself. You're a strong girl with a bright future, but don't spend it alone. Yugito nodded and smiled. It's nice to meet you. You're right, I'm sorry. Fu has been kind to me, and I promise I'm going to be best friends with Fu and hopefully Naruto. You better. The group turned to Kuruma. The kid was worried about you, even though he wouldn't openly admit it. He wanted to help you, but he got his stubbornness from his mother. Kuruma, is there a way to make Yugito happy? Or, Kuruma, Yugito still looks upset, maybe I should play a prank to make her smile. You were acting cold, and that's coming from a being of hatred. Yugito blushed and turned to Naruto, who was also blushing. You were worried about me. Damn, Baka Fox. Why do you have to tell her that? Naruto asked, face red. Yugito giggled and approached the Kyuubi. Nice to meet you, Kyuubi-sama. Kuruma nodded. It's good to see you smile. It suits you more. Kuruma commented. Yugito blushed at the praise. Naruto and Fu walked to Matabi. Wow, you look amazing. Naruto commented. And so cute. Fu added. Ah, you're a pretty little thing yourself, Fu-chan. And you, Mr. Handsome, sorry about what Yugito said. I'll make sure she repays you with some night service when she's older. Naruto was confused, while Yugito was blushing in embarrassment. Haha, same old Matabi. Miss you, kitty. Same to you, Foxy. Both Biju said to each other. I think we should go. Naruto said. Fu and Yugito nodded in agreement, then the trio disappeared. Kuruma and Matabi were still crying for each other. Naruto, Fu and Yugito were back on the mountain standing each other. That was fun. Yeah, listen, I'm sorry how I acted. To tell you the truth, I would love to be friends. Yugito said, rubbing her arms. Me too. Fu cheered. How this, we be a team and become the strongest in Kumo. Naruto said, I can get behind that. Yugito said, me too. We'll be unbeatable. Fu said, right, we even surpass Octopops. Naruto said. Yugito was confused. Octopops? Yay, he's talking about B-san. Fu said, wait, you know B-san? Yugito asked. Fu and Naruto nodded. Did he know you were Jinchurikis? The two nodded their heads again. Yugito was seething in anger. Naruto caught and he started to get angry. And he didn't mention you to us. Fu realized what Naruto meant and she was even angry. All this could have been avoided. Fu said. Naruto started to giggle evilly. I think we should punish the rapper. Fu and Yugito looked at the male Jinchuriki and started to giggle along with him. Huh. Kurabi was hanging upside down from a woman's hot spring. He looked down and smirked. Out of sight. A lady looked up and screamed. Pervert. And Kurabi B got the beat of a lifetime on his back with a note that said, payback is a bitch. 4 years later, Kurabi was standing in the middle of Training Ground 1, surrounded by Fu, Yugito and Naruto, 14 years old. Alright, let's get this show on the road. One tail cloak mode, go. Be instructed as a chakra cloak surrounded him. Hi. The three younger Jinchuriki responded before their bodies were covered with a red chakra cloak. Naruto and Yugito crouched on the ground and Fu leapt onto a cliff. Remember, use techniques only unique to your partner. Be instructed. 3 nodded and no one moved. Fu jumped towards B and delivered a kick which created a crater under B's foot. Taking advantage of the situation, Naruto and Yugito charged in at B like animals. Once they got close, Yugito turned and ran to the side. Naruto dragged his hand through the ground like a claw and swiped at the older nin as Fu jumped away. B threw a punch at Naruto and created a shockwave when their attacks met, creating a dusk cloud. When the dusk cleared, Kurabi and Naruto were in a struggle match. Yugito came from behind B and charged him. Seeing the attack coming, B tossed Naruto behind and towards Yugito. Yugito grabbed Naruto's arm and tossed back towards B and followed in pursuit. They began to repeatedly swipe attacks towards B. B smiled as he continued to block. Your teamwork is astounding, B said as he grabbed both their wrists and tossed them aside. Soon a chakra claw came from above and tried to grab B. The Hachibi host started to jump away and saw Fu using wings to fly and was controlling the claw from above. Soon two more came from the blonde Jinchurikis, making it almost twice as hard. B using his superior speed was able to maneuver around all the cloaked claws. Alright, time for Chakra Cloak version 2. Show me what you three can do. Stop with the annoying rapping, the two females said. Naruto, Yugito and Fu appeared in front of their tutor and a red chakra cloak surrounded them as their skin began to peel. Naruto and Fu went from 1 tail to 4, while Yugito grew an extra 1. Soon their whole bodies turned to the chakra form of their bijus. Now, your partner's jutsu. Perform them. The three nodded. Kitsune Crimson Flare Bomb. Naruto charged a compressed ball with some fire and red chakra. Kabutomushi Scale Shower. Fu created a wind mixed with beetle scales. Neko Scorching Mouse Missile. Yugito started inhaling air. The three fired their attack towards B. B went 5 tails and was surrounded by bones. Charging Bull Lance. B used the bull skull and collided with the attack, creating an explosion and a powerful shockwave to match. All 4 of them flew backwards. Fu landed and was hanging from a tree branch. Naruto landed on the ground, face first, and Yugito landed on top of him. All 4 of them deactivated their chakra mode. Yugito-chan, are you okay? Naruto asked, as Yugito was sitting on top of him. Yeah, thanks Naruto-kun. Yugito said, you should grind on top of him, your butt is on his back. He might not notice. Matabi said. Yugito contemplated this and looked down at her new favorite blonde. She slowly started to move back and forth. Naruto's eyes widened. Is she? It feels soft. No, stop it. You're not a pervert. There's nothing wrong with being a pervert, as long as it's towards the woman you're interested in. The 5 girls around you are all attractive. Kuruma said. 5. You don't think I know about Mabui-chan. Some of the finest legs I have ever seen. Naruto blushed up a storm and Yugito wasn't helping. What are you doing? Fu said approaching them. Both blonde blush and separately from each other. Now it's time to go see bro, so let's go. The 3 nodded and left with their sensei toward the Raikage Tower. As they were walking, a lot of girls were eyeing Naruto with hearts in their eyes. Fu pouted, while Yugito glared. At the same time, some boys were eyeing Fu and Yugito as well, causing Naruto to clench his fist. Killer Bee chuckled. The past 4 years were very eventful for the group of 6 friends. Naruto was the rookie of the year. Ever since he was able to open up Yugito, she has been a little more friendly to her class, but she had a special place for Samui and Fu, but a higher place for Naruto. Fu developed feelings for the blonde as well and wasn't afraid to show her affection. Naruto and Omoi were like brothers, Naruto being the oldest since Omoi was always paranoid. Karui and Naruto's friendship was calm. Karui being a tomboy made it easier out of all the girls to hang out with since she didn't care for shopping and gossip. Samui was closer to Naruto out of all the non-Jinchuriki. She was always striving to beat him, but unknown to him, she was attracted to him because she liked strong men and Naruto was able to get Yugito to open up. Fu got along with everyone. She called Karui, "Nei-san," and Karui accepted. When Omoi panics, Fu always finds it hilarious and tries to cheer him up. Yugito and Fu got along pretty well, and since the Matabi host opened up, Fu had a tougher time beating her in their spars. Samui and Fu weren't really close since Samui's cool nature clashed with Fu's cheerful one, although when they spar, it was entertaining for the both of them. Fu developed feelings for Naruto as she got older and she developed a bit of a B cup. Yugito changed since she opened up. It took her a while to talk to the rest of the class since she still held a grudge against them. Naruto and Fu became her new best friends alongside Samui. Omoi and her got along well when he wasn't complaining. However, Karui always annoyed her when she tried to beat her in sparring. Just like Fu, she had developed feelings for Naruto since he and Fu helped open her up a bit. She had C cup, but her butt developed slightly better. They made it to the Raikage office and saw Samui, Omoi and Karui. Naruto, Fu, Yugito. Stand next to Samui. The three named nod and walk next to the platinum blonde. Now, you six are the best in the academy. Instead of waiting the next 4 months to graduate, we decided to make Kumo top shinobi after yours truly. You know how Konoha has the Sanin and the Mist have their swordsmen. Well, 6 are going to represent us. B and Mabui are going to train the 3 Jinchuriki. You'll be known as Team Ragnarok. 1 status is up, but for now, you'll be Team B. Samui, you alongside Omoi and Karui will be known as Team Aegis, badass right? You'll be trained by Darui and I, but just like Naruto's team, you'll wait until your status rises. You'll be Team Darui. Naruto looked at Mabui and blushed. Mabui noticed this and smirked. She was happy she finally made Jonin status and now she was going to be Naruto's sensei. Naruto became closer with Mabui when he started to learn Fuinjutsu. Mabui had a thing for smart guys and Naruto becoming Kumo's first seal master would definitely drive. A walked forward and handed the 6 chakra paper. Now this is chakra paper, this will let you know what your affinity is. I'm not going to explain. Just pour chakra into it. Omoi went first and poured chakra into his and one side crumbled and the other got wrinkled. He had earth and lightning. Karui went next, one side got wrinkled and the other burned. She had lightning and fire. Samui went third and the whole paper was wrinkled and soaked. Darui and eyebrow, we seem to have another storm release user. Darui said, that's unexpected, but great nonetheless. A commented. Samui nodded and stepped back. Fu went next and poured her chakra in, the paper turned into crystals, surprising the adults. Crystal release. But how? Mabui asked. That's cool, I'm going to be strong. Fu cheered. Everyone chuckled at the girl. Yugito went next. Her paper dried up. Scorch release. What's going on? 3 Kekkei Genkei. Mabui said. Naruto went last. When he poured chakra into his, it split. One side got wet and the other twisted, confusing the new genin. What does this mean? Naruto asked. It would seem you have thunder release. I have the same ability. Mabui said, surprised by the blonde. Naruto smiled. Well, I'll be counting on you, Mabui-chan. Naruto responded. Mabui blushed and smiled deviously. She had a perfect reason to spend time with Naruto and she wasn't going to waste it. Sure. Count on me. Mabui replied calmly. Samui, I'll help you with your bloodline as well. Darui offered. Cool, I appreciate it. Samui responded. Naruto and Samui, I would like to teach you my lightning armor. Karui and Omoi, once you increase your chakra level, I'll teach you the same. Said. The genin nodded. Now, go enjoy yourself because next week, your team will be formed. Speaking of, I also want each of you to have a partner. There will be a time when you will be on a 2-man mission. So to get it fair, I want a Jinchuriki to form with a non-Jinchuriki. Learn each other's moves, form collaborations and watch each other back. So who would be on whose team? If it's cool, I'll be on Naruto's team. We are equal in terms of skills and I trust him to watch my back. Is that okay with you, Yugito? Samui asked her friend. That's fine, the other 2 might hold him back, especially Karui. Yugito said. What did you say? I'm as strong as you. Karui responded. You wish. Yugito said before looking at Omoi. So Omoi, how about we partner up? Sure, I'll try to keep up. Omoi answered. Fu smiled and hugged Karui. That means we're partners, Karui nay. Karui expressions soften. Yeah, we're become the best team. Now remember, you're done with the academy. So please take this seriously, especially you, Karui. Your grades could be better. Said. Karui mumbled to herself about hating studying. Naruto will be our Fuinjutsu master. Sweet, I'll be the best. Datbeo. Samui will be our demolitionist. Cool. Yugito will be our assassin and stealth fighter. I can get behind that. Fu, you will be our trapper and genjutsu mistress. Hi, Omoi will be our strategist. Sure thing, Raikage-sama. And Karui will be our kenjutsu master. Karui smirked and nodded. Now, all of you will specialize in the field I choose, but you all will learn kenjutsu, ninjutsu and taijutsu of your own style. Kumo will be at the top. Do you agree? Hi, the new genin responded. Great, now get out of my office and go enjoy yourself. Raikage ordered with a smile. The genin nodded and left. A turn to Mabui. You can go spend time with Naruto. Mabui blushed and left without a word. B smirked at his brother. With what the ladies have planned, we'll end up reviving his clan. A grunted at B raping but agreed. The revival of the Uzumaki and Namikaze clan in our village, along with 4 Jinchuriki. We will remain on top forever. The new genin and Mabui were bull barbecue, enjoying themselves after their announcement. Mabui and Samui were sitting next to our favorite male blondes since they won in rock paper scissors against the other girls. Usually the group would have been chatting it up, but they were staring at mountain of bulgogi, marinated beef, and jambalaya, short marinated steak, being devoured by Naruto and surprisingly Samui and Mabui. The 2 girls were eating more than Yugito and Fu, even though they were Jinchuriki. I understand Naruto-kun, should I even expect Omoi or Yugito, but how the hell does Samui and Mabui eat as much as him? Samui paused and narrowed her eyes at Karui. Are you calling me fat? Mine as well be, look at your plates. Karui answered. I don't see what the big deal is. Naruto said, gaining everyone's attention. I like a girl who can eat and not worry about dieting. If most girls realize they just need to train, they can look as beautiful as you girls. Naruto said, eating some steak. All the girls blushed but Fu. She had a puzzling look on her face as she saw Samui and Mabui eat. Is that how you get bigger? Because you eat more than us, while training? Naruto blushed and choked, Mabui's face turned red and Samui tilted her head. Possibly, it would explain things. Samui answered and turned to see Naruto still blushing while beating his chest. Waiter. More bulgogi. Karui called. Samui shook her head. Why are you trying to make them bigger? They're a pain on my shoulders. Samui asked and looked at Naruto, who had a nosebleed. Although, they have benefits. If they hurt so much, why won't you let Foxy-kun massage your shoulders? Yugito suggested. Why me? Naruto asked. Because you're good at it. Remember when we spar a few months ago? My body was sore but the massage you gave was heavenly. Yugito answered. Really? Samui said before looking at her fellow blonde. I'd appreciate it if you would, Naruto-kun. Samui said with a tint of pink on her cheeks. Same here. Would you do this for us? Mabui asked. Naruto looked between the girls and chuckled nervously. Sure. Anything for you girls. Oh, I know. Let's go to the onsen. We can bathe together. Fu suggested. I don't mind. I believe they have a mixed bath. It'll be perfect for the massage. Samui agreed. You guys can go, I think I'll go home and sleep. Omoi said. Naruto laughed at his friend's laziness. That's fine but we should get out of here. Naruto said. We'll put this on a Sama tab. Mabui said. But an onsen would feel nice. Naruto-kun, you will join us right? I don't think it would be a good idea, I wouldn't to disturb. I don't mind. It'll be fun. You're more than welcome to join. Just don't stare. All the girls said. Naruto blinks and sighs. Fine, if it would make you happy. Naruto said. The girls cheered. The group separated from Omoi and headed to the onsen. As the group was walking, they gained a lot of attention. Look, it's Naruto-sama. Naruto-kun, you can have my kids. Marry me, Naruto-sama. A group of Naruto fangirls yelled, causing Naruto to groan. Samui-chan, step on me. Go out with me. Look. Her chest got bigger. Samui eyes twitch a bit. Yugito-sama. Come here Kitty-chan. Yugito is so hot. Yugito seethed. It's Mabui-san. Wow. As ever. I wish I was married to her. Mabui sighs and shakes her head negatively. It's Fu-chan. Fu is so cute. Just looking at her makes you smile. A group of boys and girls said. Hi everyone. Hi Fu. Everyone responded as Fu waved at them. I swear they're so annoying. Naruto said. I wish I could kill them. Samui said. Yugito and Mabui agreed. Let's just go girls. Naruto said. The girls nodded and proceeded to the onsen. An hour later. Naruto-kun. This feels so good. Damn, I can't hold back my voice. A little lower Foxy-kun. So cool. The girls moaned as they were getting the best massage of their life. Naruto looked at them confusingly. Is it really that good? He asked and he and his clones were massaging the girls. The real one was massaging Mabui. They didn't answer, they couldn't control their breathing. Kit, you have some magical hands. To take their breath away with just a massage is impressive. When you and the girls ha coitus, remember, it's not just about pain. Kuruma. Pervert fox. I'm not ready for that. Naruto said with a blush. Please, you're attracted to all of them. Speaking of, next week you're going to spend some time with Mabui, quite the catch she is, but she also loves smart men. You are ahead in your class, but you could do better. Kuruma said. Naruto looked down at Mabui. What do I do? Naruto asked. He wanted to impress Mabui. He liked the other girls, but his crush on Mabui was huge. Maybe he was a pervert. Easy, you're an Uzumaki. Go to your homeland after your training, but ask the Raikage when Mabui is in the room. I guarantee she will jump at the chance, but don't just yes, act like you're not sure, mention how personnel it will be. Naruto listened to Kuruma's plan and smiled. It's been a week since the announcement. Mabui and Naruto were on a private training field at a high point of a mountain. Alright Naruto, when I'm teaching you, I want to be known as Mabui-senpai. Why not sensei? Because I'm not that much older than you and you're the only one who can call me that. Now to explain how thunder release works. Mabui held up her hand and covered lightning. Naruto-kun, as you have probably seen, Kumo uses lightning to enhance our physical attacks or use jutsu in close range. Do you have any idea why? Because lightning can't be controlled. Naruto answered. Right, lightning range attacks are destructive and hard to control. But the speed makes up for it. Mabui threw a kunai at the center of a rock wall. Watch, lightning style, lightning needle. Mabui shot 5 lightning needles from her hand and 2 hit the kunai, while the others landed around it, creating small holes, creating cracks around it. Now watch this, thunder senbons. This attack was yellow, and bigger, plus there was less static. All senbons hit the middle and went through the canyon. Now Naruto, what have you noticed? Thunder looks more like energy than lightning and is controlled. Thunder is lightning surrounded by wind, compressing it and concentrating its power. It increases its piercing damage and it focuses on one target. Mabui explained. Cool. Naruto cheered with stars in his eyes. While with me, you learn and create your own techniques. You'll learn seals on the side, so be prepared. About that, how many seals do you have here? Naruto asked. Well, not many. We were only able to seal both bijus in B and Yugito because of a sealing jutsu passed down from the Senju clan, and sad to say it's the most powerful fuinjutsu we have. Most wouldn't even bother to learn it. Kumo only loves to solve problems with their fist. That's why you being here is a blessing in disguise. Mabui said. Naruto nodded. This would motivate him to try harder in becoming Kumo's first seal master. Raikage was barely awake at the moment in his office. Training both Karui and Omoi while working as Raikage was tiring. B gave him updates on Fu and Yugito's training, both still trying to learn their Kekkei Genkei, but Samui and Naruto progressed further since they had a teacher who could teach them. AG-san. Snapped out of his thought when Naruto and Samui walked in with Darui and Mabui. What do you want, brat? Have you been flirting with my daughter? A grumble, secretly teasing the blonde. What? Naruto replied as both he and Mabui blushed. No, I just wanted to let you know I went over every fuinjutsu scroll you have and was wondering what to do. Eyes widened. There's no way. Actually, it's true too, san. Naruto-kun learned it with ease pretty fast. He's natural at it. He went through all our scrolls and created a few seals on his own. Mabui explained. Well, I'm not sure what to do about this. We were never well educated on fuinjutsu and I'm not sure where we could acquire any more. Responded. Naruto. Now, Naruto mentally nodded. Actually, I might have an idea. Naruto spoke up. Really? What is it? Asked the male blonde. Well, from what Kuruma told me, I'm from the Uzumaki clan. Maybe there's some scrolls locked away at my clan's homeland. If I go there, I can uncover something. Naruto suggested, slightly looking at Mabui. That's actually not a bad idea. Your clan was always protective of their possessions and it wouldn't be too far-fetched if they have some of their valuables hidden away. I agree, Naruto. I'll send you and a few others to Uzu. Actually, I have a few suggestions. Samui have a high affinity to water and she might be helpful. Naruto said, causing Samui to blush with a small smile. I also think Fu should come along since she can fly. Those are good choices, but you should bring a Jonin with you as well. A suggested. Naruto smirked. He knew Mabui wanted to tag along since she was a nerd. Exploring unexplored history and learning more about seals would excite her more than Naruto eating ramen. Well, Darui-sensei has an affinity to water and B-sensei can swim in his tail beast form. The group looked at Mabui, who was shifting nervously. I would love to tag along, if it's okay with you, Naruto-kun. Huh, no offense, but I'm not sure how beneficial you'll be on this mission, granted you are very strong and the smartest person in the room. Naruto compliments, making Mabui blush. But this is a rare opportunity, to explore your homeland will bring me joy. I don't want to pass this up and it would mean a lot if you allow me to go. Mabui begged. Naruto folded his arms. I'm not sure. Manui covered her eyes with her bangs and approached the male blonde. She grabbed him by the collar and dragged him outside into the hallway, closing the door behind them. Once they were alone, she pushed Naruto against the wall, causing the blonde to look nervous. Mabui, what? HMPH. Naruto's lips were sealed by Mabui's, as she shoved her tongue into Naruto's mouth, causing his mind to turn into mush. I wasn't expecting this, everything turning blurry. Tastes like cinnamon. Go Kit. You'll make a good alpha. Mabui was kissing him for about 30 seconds before she released him. She gave the blonde a proud smirk as she analyzed his expression. May I please go, Naruto-kun? Mabui whispered the last part. Sure. Hey, you can come. Naruto said with a goofy smile. Mabui giggled and grabbed Naruto's hand as they walked back into the office. I wanted to question what happened, but seeing Naruto a face, he had a pretty good idea. Well, when my daughter wants some, she tends to get it. Samui looked at the two before puffing out her cheeks. You win this round. Mabui-sensei can come along, Ajij. Naruto said, as his cheeks heated up. I chuckled a bit. Really? How did she convince you? The Raikage asked. Not important. Can we just go? Naruto asked. Yeah, this will be an A- rank mission. Be careful of traps. I'll send Fu to the gate, you'll leave tomorrow and Naruto is in charge. Be mindful that there might be certain areas on, why Naruto can enter. Follow his command, understand? Hi. The three responded. The three left the room and as soon as the door closed, I started laughing. I swear the girls are going to have that boy whipped. Darui smiled as he shook his head. It wouldn't be so dull to see what happens. Darui responded. It's been 4 days since the group left for Uzu. Naruto and his group were on their way to his homeland and he was excited but nervous, his home might not find anything but destroyed ruins. You seem happy, Naruto-kun, but at the same time, afraid. I honestly don't know what to expect. I never had a family and to find something about my heritage is kind of making me nervous. Naruto explained. Samui grabbed his hand and squeezed it slightly, causing him to blush. We're here for you, so don't worry, Samui said with a rare warm smile that caused the blonde's heart to skip a beat. You have a beautiful smile. Naruto mumbled unconsciously. Samui's eyes widened and her cheeks got darker. Naruto's eyes widened when he realized what he said and both blondes turned their heads from each other. Mabui and Fu had a pouty look on their faces after the reaction. You win this time, Mabui commented. After a few more hours of traveling, they made it to the destroyed village. Naruto gazed at the ruined village. This is my clan's home. Naruto said. The group started to walk through the village to see if anything was intact. Naruto wasn't sure how to feel looking at his clan's village. When they made it to the center of the village, there was a statue with glowing eyes. Naruto walked up to the statue and touched it. Unknown to him, chakra poured from his palms to the statue. Soon the statue began to glow and soon a red-haired woman came to life. Hi Sochi, the woman said. Sochi. Then. You are. Naruto said, trembling. Yes and no, you see this statue was meant to store memories and knowledge in it. I poured some chakra into you when you were born so I could speak with you. This statue responds to Uzumaki chakra and absorbs the chakra I poured into you and it allows me to speak to you. Kushina said. Naruto hugged the woman and began to cry. I always wanted to meet Yuka-chan, Dadbao. Kushina hugged him in return, smiling. Now even though I'm happy to see you. The statue was meant to answer questions. I'm part of the statue, so ask anything. Is there anything still here, like stuff I can learn from my ancestors? You mean like scrolls? Yes, there's a hidden library under the village, but only some of our blood can get in. It's protected by a level 8 barrier seal. Kushina asked. What about weapons? Naruto asked. They are in the library as well. When our village was attacked, we stored all our valuables in there. That way, no matter how hard someone tried, they could never get in. Kushina asked. What happened to our village? Why were they attacked? Kushina looked at the Mabui and saw her headband. She saw Naruto's life and wasn't sure how he would handle it, but she answered. They were destroyed by 3 villages. Kiri, Iwa and Kumo. The Kumo team's eyes widened when they heard this. You see, even though we were peaceful people, we were seen as a threat. Fuinjutsu is the most powerful jutsu art after sage jutsus. Our clan not only were prodigies and masters of the art, we created more and more every time we learned. Add that to our kinjutsu, water and wind mastery and healing factor, you can see why. But before our clan perished, we took out 85% of each of the other villages' armies. We were badasses. Naruto gave a small smile. I see. Kushina sighs. She tried to make a joke. She didn't blame the current generation for what happened, and hopefully Naruto didn't either. Naruto, it was the first Raikage who issued it, remember that? War happens. Do you understand? Naruto looked at his mom and realized what she was saying. Yeah, I understand. Naruto responded. Kushina nodded and snapped her fingers, then a stairway appeared under Kushina. This will lead you to the library. You're the only one who can enter. I'll talk with the girls. I would love to get to know my future daughter-in-laws. Mabui, Fu and Samui blushed. Why yeah, I'm out. Naruto said before going down the stairs. Okay, first question. How many kids are you willing to give me? Kushina asked. Fu and Mabui blushed up a storm. Samui had a calculated look on her face. Is there a limit? Samui asked. Kushina smirked. I like you. Fu and Mabui panicked. They had to impress Naruto's mother. Well, I like to have 5 or 6. I always wanted a big family. Fu said. I for one would love 3. Mabui said. Samui didn't answer as she was still thinking. She then looked at Kushina with an emotionless look. I think 9 will be cool. Kushina's eyes shined, while Mabui's jaw dropped. Well, are you prepared to share him? Kushina asked, surprising the girls. As you know, he's the last of our clan and it would be a shame if he were to die, but with you 3 and the other 2 girls, you would be considered heroes since can guarantee our clan's survival, plus I doubt any one of you can claim his heart since my Sochi is attracted to all of you and he wouldn't want to hurt any of you. I wouldn't mind. Fu said. We'll be like sisters. I guess I'll be okay with it. Especially since it was Kumo who destroyed the village. Mabui said. I'm cool, but I'll be the head wife. Samui said. Says who? Mabui asked, narrowing her eyes. Says me. Deal with it. Samui glaring back at Mabui. Kushina chuckled a bit. You girls, please take care of my Sochi. He needs it. Kushina said, gaining the girls' attention. Of course, the girls replied. Soon Naruto walked up with 5 clones carrying a big scroll on their backs. I'm back. Why are your faces red? Naruto asked the 3 girls. Oh, we were talking to your mom about. We were having a girl talk. Mabui said, cutting Samui off. Anyone, did you find anything? Yeah, they even have summon scrolls for houses. I'm going to use it for my new home. I also got some Fuinjutsu, Kenjutsu, Ninjutsu and weapon scrolls. I'm going to be busy for a while. Thanked Kami for shadow clones. I see you learned that jutsu. Anyway, Sochi, I don't have much time. Remember, no matter what you choose, I'm proud of you. Rather if it's Kumo or Konoha, always protect what's precious to you. I love you, Naruto. Kushina said, hugging her son. I love you too, Ka-chan. Naruto said, returning the hug. Kushina walked back to the center of the ruined village and turned back into a faceless statue. Naruto just wiped his tears and had a warm smile on his face. Let's go home. Can you girls grab some of the scrolls? The girls nodded and the 3 proceeded to leave Uzu and head back to Kumo. Naruto turned his head back to his clan home. By Ka-chan. I'll make you proud. So that's what happened, said to Naruto's group. Naruto and Mabui had informed them on his trip. Was happy Naruto met his mother but was wondering what would Naruto do now that he found out that Kumo played a part in his clan's destruction. To the front then got on his knees and bowed to the blonde. I'm sorry that the village destroyed your ancestors. I just want you to know that I played no part in that. I respected your village and their strength. The Raikage before me wanted me to help but I refused. Still, I want to apologize. If it helps, I'll grant you one request. It's okay Ji-san. I wasn't even there and no one here was involved. But as for the request, may I have a large area of land? I got a house in one of the summon scrolls and it's the size of a mansion. Naruto asked. Sure, that's an easy request and thank you for forgiving our village for what they did. If you want, I can enter you into the CRA since you're the last male of the clan, you would be able to have more than one wife. It's your choice. Said. He knew the boy had a few crushes on some of the girls but he probably wouldn't accept it unless they did. Naruto stuttered with a blush on his face. The idea of marrying Samui, Mabui, Yugito, Karui and Fu gave him wild imagination. The girls in the room weren't faring well but Fu. That's a good idea, we'll be a big happy family. Fu said, as she hugged the blonde. Samui was quiet. She wasn't sure about this but all the girls involved were friends of hers and she couldn't force Naruto to choose and hurt the others. He was of good nature, plus Kumo did destroy his clan. I'm cool with it. Samui said. What Samui you're, wait. You want to marry me? Naruto asked with a blush on his face. Is that a problem? Samui asked with a blush on her face. You're the first and only guy friend I have. You are pretty cool. Wait but that means, I like you. Samui said, finishing Naruto's sentence. Naruto's face felt hotter than the sun. She's not the only one. Naruto turned to Mabui. I like you for a while now. Honestly before meeting you, I was all about being a shinobi and surviving and I have to admit, you brought some enjoyment into my life. I like you too. Fu said, jumping on the blonde's back. You're my first friend and the reason I'm here. You're my most precious person. And those three aren't the only ones. Naruto turned his head towards the source and saw B, Karui and Yugito walk in. Yugito walked up to the blonde and gave him a passionate kiss on the lips. You're an amazing guy, you never gave up on me. Hey, who said you get to kiss him? Karui yelled. Yugito turned to her rival and smirked. Well if you want to kiss him, nothing is stopping you. Yugito said, causing Karui to freeze. She turned to Naruto, sputtering in embarrassment. Naruto chuckled and approached the girl and kissed her on the cheek. Let's start with this, Naruto said, making Karui blush and give a small nod. Hey, I didn't get to kiss Naruto-kun yet. Fu complained with a pout. Same, it's uncool to leave us out when the three of you get a kiss. Samui said. Naruto gave a nervous chuckle and approached the two. He was about to give Fu a kiss on the cheek but the Nanabi Jinchuriki turned her head and kissed Naruto on the lips. Naruto pulled back, face red as an Uzumaki's head. We knew each other the longest, so no kissing on the cheek. Naruto just nodded and turned to Samui who was looking at him expectantly. He could read the look on her face. Don't even think about kissing me on the cheek. Naruto went in for her lips but Samui was impatient and grabbed Naruto by the collar, pulling him towards her. She smashed her lips against his, and added some tongue into it. Both blondes began to moan while in the makeout session. Every girl in the room blushed, while all the guys gave Naruto a proud look, except Darui. Samui separated from Naruto and licked her lips. That was a cool first kiss. Are you done? I asked with an amusing smile. Everyone nodded. Now Naruto, I'll have someone escort you to your land so you can summon your house and set it up. With that said, starting next week, you'll continue your training. Now get out of my office. Summoning jutsu, Naruto said, summoning his new home from the scroll. What appeared, shocked all the genin and Mabui there. A mansion that was the size of a two-story appeared. Was my clan filthy rich or were they good builders? Naruto asked out loud before walking in with the girls behind him. Wow, this is huge. Fu said, looking around. The first floor had a kitchen, a training room, a dining room, a living room and there is a spa room. Fu cheered as she ran towards the room with the group behind her. This is a spa room. This looks like a pool. Yugito commented. Look how big the training room is. Karui said. Omoi followed her. Naruto-kun, how about we go check out the library? Mabui asked, tugging Naruto's arm towards the library. Naruto couldn't help but smile being around people he loved. But there was still one person he wished was here. Hubby Haim. Okay, before anyone asked. Jinchurikis all get Kekai Genka depending on their tail beast. Naruto has thunder realies because in the anime, Kuruma said a wag of his tails was strong enough to call thunderstorms. Fu has crystal because it's the closest thing to scales and Yugito has hellfire but I gave her scorch. Samui has storm like Darui. 4 months had passed and the genin was now ready to take on B rank or higher missions. They completed multiple D and C rank missions. So far from what I could tell, without the Biju power, the strongest in order was Naruto in first because he was more well-rounded. He mastered his wind, lightning and water affinity thanks to those clones, also his thunder release was well on its way to being complete. He took up dual wielding and used 2 longswords he got from his clan scrolls but it still needed work. He was already the best seal master they had but he wasn't sure how good he was. His best physical attribute was his speed and stamina. His taijutsu was just as good as his kenjutsu, he was above mid-chunin in both but with experience he will get better. He also mastered the lightning armor and came up with other variants. Samui was in the same tier as Naruto. Her taijutsu was better because of her flexibility. She masters both her affinity for water and lightning but she was still learning her storm release. Trying to compete with her fellow blondes really pushed her. She decided to use a longsword as her weapon since it fits well with her body type. She was balanced when it came to speed and power. She also learned the Raikage lightning armor as well. Yugito would be the third strongest but not far. Her best skill was her reaction time to dodge and evade. She was also their best sensor kunoichi. She was the taijutsu specialist of the 6 genin and along with her scorch release, she caused opponents to lose stamina. She used a short sword as her weapon of choice. Fu was the next strongest. If I could be honest, Fu would be their best defensive fighter. With her crystal release and stamina, plus being the only one among the 6 genin to know genjutsu as well. Her affinities also included water, earth and wind. She was still working on wind but her water and earth was close to mastery. She uses a chikudo for her weapon. Karui would be next in strength. She was a balance fighter and was probably the best at kenjutsu among the 6. She still only mastered one of her affinities but she did learn a couple jutsu outside of her nature. Omoi is the most analytic of the group, he is not really motivated but he can be fierce when he outsmart his opponent. He was the strongest lightning user of the group and had the best chakra control of everyone. If he can only fix his paranoia. Yo bro, we are here for the show but there's a problem. I can't find Mabui and Naruto yo. B said, snapping out of his thoughts. In front of him were Darui, Samui, Fu, Karui and Omoi. Where's Mabui, Yugito and Naruto? I asked. And no rapping. B chuckled. Yugito is trying to maintain her full tail beast state. I set a timer for her. As for the Mr. 9 and Mabui, they've been disappearing after training and hanging out. I have no idea what they are doing. I know where they are. Samui said. Good, where are they? In Naruto-kun's library. Naruto is addicted to fuinjutsu, while Mabui likes learning new things. They spend time there every chance they get. Naruto only comes out for training, to hang in dates with us. I hope we see some results. B go get the 3 of them. A order. B nodded and shunshin away. After a few minutes, Naruto, Mabui and Yugito walked in with B behind them. Yugito was glaring at Mabui, and anyone with a brain can guess why just by looking at Naruto. He had kiss marks all over his face. Now that everyone is here, I'm proud to say that you 6 are among the strongest shinobi Kumo ever produced. Does that mean we can take B rank missions? Naruto asked. Fine, you can start doing missions whenever you're ready. B, stay behind. I like to ask you something. A said. Everyone else left, leaving the 2 brothers. So what's the time limit and the limitation? Where Naruto can stay in full Biju form for 45 seconds but I don't recommend it because it leaves him fatigued. He can use 5 tails at most with no problem, and for now that's good. Fu is the same, but she can maintain her full beast transformation for 3.5 minutes. She can use the same amount as Naruto. Yugito has full control of hers since Matabi has way less tails. I see, that's good news. Do they have to fight their Biju soon? Hell no, bro. They're strong for now and they can even handle most Jonin with the combined training we gave them, they just lack experience, but that'll come in time. Well, keep boosting Fu and Naruto's time limit. The more they can use, the better. But I agree that they are strong, I'll even hate to fight all 3 of them at once if I'm honest. Same here, bro. That's a no-go. B said. Next day Naruto, Yugito, Samui and Mabui were in a office after being called. You 3, I have a B rank mission for you. Samui will be joining you instead of Fu's spot. This is BA rank depending on the enemy. Your goal is to assassinate a man named Gato. Is a business owner as well as an underground mob boss. Apparently he took over the Wave Country, the person who hired you is named Tsunami. Gato is after her father's life. Any questions? Yes, why has Samui taken over Fu? Yugito asked. Because Tsunami informed us that Konoha will most likely be there if they continue the mission. Her father lied about the mission being AC rank, but if you do encounter them. I would rather not have all the Jinchuriki there, plus Fu is training with B right now. Naruto, you need to overcome this. I don't care if they find out about you, show them it was a mistake to treat you wrong. Also, if they find you, we can establish an alliance and you can participate in this year's Chunin exam. Said. I see, don't worry. I have the girls with me. I'm sure they are going to try to take me back, but I have so much here for me. So I'm not going with them. You treated me normally and I love the girls, this is my home. Naruto said. The girls in the room blushed. I gave an approved smile. Good, now pack up and be at the gate in 30 minutes. Hi. The group responded before leaving. Mabui-sensei, what's the plan when we get to Wave? Naruto asked. Well, we'll find Tsunami-san and head to her house and gather information. We can't just charge in pointlessly. Gato can hire Shinobi and depending on the rank will make the mission difficult. Mabui answered. And the Konoha team? Samui asked. We cooperate but try not to let them provoke you if possible. Mabui answered. Naruto-kun, how strong do you think the team is? Yugito asked. Well, from what I remember, Konoha is pretty lax. At the highest, from the Genin, I expect mid-Chunin level. But the Jonin I'm not sure who it will be. Naruto answered. Well, we're almost there. Mabui said as they arrived into town, they saw the unfinished bridge and had to admit they were impressed. Now we have to find our contract house. Naruto, Yugito, see if you two sense a group of chakra together. Mabui ordered. Hi. Both blonde Jinchuriki responded as they closed their eyes. After a while, Yugito opened her eyes and turned to the direction she felt the chakra. There are 4 large chakra signatures towards the woods. Yeah. 1 Genin, 2 Chunin and High Jonin. Must be Konoha. Naruto continued. Alright, let's move out. The group walked towards Tazuna house, looking at the state of the village. It was terrible, starving kids on the street, buildings falling apart and sickness all around. Naruto balled up his fist in anger. We'll save this village. Naruto said in anger. Samui walked beside him and held his hand. Hi. We make this village cool again. Yugito grabbed the other hand. We got this, we can handle anything. Mabui smiled from behind as they walked to their destination. When they arrived, Mabui knocked on the door. Coming. They heard a woman's voice, then the door opened. Hello there. Oh, Kumo-nin. You're here. I'm Tsunami, please come in. Tsunami said as the group followed them in. Kumo Shinobi, what are you doing here? Sakura asked, sitting at the table alongside her other 2 teammates. Naruto analyzes them. The Pinkett has average Genin reserves, no muscle at all, and the way she dresses screamed fangirl. The boy with the blue shirt had an Uchiha logo on his shirt, had low Chunin reserves, he looked arrogant and felt cold. The last was a pale boy. Naruto felt nothing from him and he was suppressing his chakra, he would probably have high Chunin reserves. We were hired to assassinate Gato by Tsunami-san. Where's your sensei? Mabui asked. Sasuke looked at the group like he was analyzing them, Sakura was worried these girls will try to take Sasuke but was also jealous of their body. Sai didn't care. He's upstairs, he was resting after yesterday's battle. He should be fine, I'll go and get him. Sakura said, getting up and heading upstairs. Sasuke looked at Naruto and Naruto looked back with a confused look. What? Nothing. Sasuke said, turning his head. Soon Kakashi came down alongside Sakura, looking at the Kumo team until his eyes widened when he saw the male blonde. Naruto. Naruto, you're alive? Kakashi asked, confusing Team 7 until Sakura's eyes widened. Naruto. As in Naruto Namikaze, the boy who disappeared years ago. Sakura asked her sensei. Kakashi nodded and Team 7 turned to the male blonde with different thoughts. He looks just like sensei, but how did he end up in Kumo? I'm glad he's alive, Kakashi thought. He's the son of the Yondaime. He will be perfect for testing my strength. Sasuke thought. He's so hot. He looks just as good as the Yondaime. I know. I don't know who's hotter between him and Sasuke-kun. Sakura thought, squealing with hearts in her eyes. I have to report this to Danzo-sama that the weapon is alive. Sai thought. Naruto narrowed his eyes. It's Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, and how do you know that? Kakashi sat down on the floor. You see, after you disappeared, Sandaime-sama revealed your heritage to the village to make them feel guilty about what they did, assuming you were dead. The village was torn up about it because they built a statue of you alongside your mother and father. Naruto sighs. I see, I have to thank Gigi next time I see him. Anyway, how about we all introduce ourselves? As you know, I'm Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. My name is Mabui, leader of Team Ragnarok. Mabui said in a professional tone. I'm Samui. Samui said in a cold tone. My name is Yugito ni. Yugito said in a calm fashion, folding her arms under her bust. Well, I'm Kakashi Hatake, leader of Team 7. Kakashi said. I'm Sakura Haruno, nice to meet you. Sakura said, looking at Naruto before blushing. Naruto caught this and got annoyed. Great, a fangirl from another village. My name is Sai. Sai said, with no emotion. I'm Sasuke Uchiha, from the strongest clan in the village. Sasuke said arrogantly. Naruto and his fellow blondes weren't impressed. Great, now everyone introduce. Naruto, I want to say I'm sorry. Kakashi said. Naruto was confused. About what? I wasn't there to protect you. You see, you might remember me as Dog Man. Kakashi said. Naruto's eyes widened. He remembers a couple Anbu protecting him as a child. One was a cat, one was a crow, and the last was. You used to protect me as a kid. Naruto said, causing his team to look at Kakashi in a new light. At least one person in Konoha was good. Yes, the day you disappeared. Me and the other two were sent on a mission. I'm guessing the elders planned it. When we returned, you were gone. I felt like I failed you and your father. You see, he was my sensei and I promised him I would always protect you. But I thought I failed. Naruto walked up to the one-eyed Jonin and placed a hand on his shoulder. You had no control over what happened. Thanks for looking out for me. Naruto said, but Kakashi was still upset. You don't understand. If you were still in Konoha, you would have been on my team. Kakashi said, surprising his team. It would have been you, Sasuke and Sakura. I see. Naruto responded, not knowing what to say. Can I ask you something? Are you happy? Naruto looked at his team and gave them a warm smile. More than I've ever been. Good. That's all that matters. Kakashi said. Now that's over, how about we test each other's strength? Let's go into the woods and have a spar. Mabui thought about it before agreeing. Sure, if we are going to work together, even a little. It'll be good to measure our strengths. The group was about to leave until Kakashi put his hand on Mabui's shoulder. Wait, Mabui, I need a favor. What is it, Hatake-san? Since I can't be his sensei, would you mind if I pass on a jutsu I created to him? Although, it'll help if he has lightning affinity. Kakashi asked. Mabui's eyes widened before she gave him a reassuring smile. Sure, I'm sure he'll like that. And he does. How are you feeling, Kit? Kuruma asked. I'm okay, thanks for asking. It's not as bad as I thought. Although, the way the Uchiha is looking at me is giving me homo vibes. Not to mention, the fangirl. She's going to be a pain, but with Samui and Kitty here, it should be fine. Kuruma said. Naruto-kun. Naruto snapped out his thoughts when Sakura started to walk beside him. I was wondering if we could get to know each other since we'll be working together. Sure. I guess that's fine. Naruto said. He had no reason to be rude, but he didn't want to get close to her. Why not tell me about yourself? Well, I'm Kunoichi of the year and I'm kinda a book nerd. Sakura said, hoping to impress the Namikaze. Really? Naruto asked, surprisingly. Maybe she has some hidden strength. I can't see her as Kunoichi of the year. Same, maybe she specializes in genjutsu. With her reserves, her chakra control could be perfect. Maybe a medic. Kuruma said. Yeah, do you have a Kunoichi of the year as well? Sakura asked. Yeah, we do. Samui-chan, come here please. Naruto called as they walked through the woods. Samui, hearing her name being called by her boyfriend, approaches the two. She saw how Sakura looked at Naruto and decided to fix this. When she arrived, she hugged Naruto's arm. Yes, Naruto-kun, Samui said as Sakura glared at the girl. Would you believe that Sakura-san here is Kunoichi of the year like you? Naruto said as they arrived in the forest and waited for their sensei. Samui let go of Naruto's arm and stood in front of Sakura, looking her up and down. Samui scoffed and walked back next to Naruto. I don't see it. She doesn't look strong. Sakura glared at the Kunoichi. Now that we are all here, how about we each pick a fighter among our students, Kakashi suggested. Mabui nodded. Sure. In fact, I let your student choose who he or she will fight. Mabui said with full confidence. Confident are we? Okay. Sasuke, you're up, Kakashi said. Sasuke smirked and stepped forward. So I can pick who I fight? Sasuke asked, looking at Naruto. That's right. Is all right to assume that you want to fight Naruto-kun? Mabui asked. That's right. Sasuke responded. Mabui looked at Naruto before nodding at him. Naruto walked a good distance and stood in front of the Uchiha. Sasuke smirked at Naruto. You should be honored. You are about to face the last of the Uchiha clan and the rookie of the year at Konoha Academy. So cool, so hot. Sakura and inner Sakura said. Naruto gave a small smile. Really? Well, I'm the rookie of the year at Kumo Academy. Allow me to show you why. Naruto replied. So awesome, so gorgeous. The fangirl thought again. Mabui stood in between. Remember, this is a spar. No death blows, and when I say it's over, it's over. Mabui said, looking at the two boys. Begin. Sasuke wasted no time, charging the blonde. Naruto got in a defensive stance. He's fast as a new Chunin. Naruto said, blocking a kick. There's nothing special about his physical strength, although he's better than an average genin. Naruto sent an arm strike to the Uchiha, catching him off guard and sending him skidding on top of the ground. Naruto narrowed his eyes on Sasuke. Why hasn't he activated his Sharingan? Does he believe he can win without it, or he doesn't possess it yet? Kuruma said, confirming his thoughts. Sasuke charged the blonde again, throwing a punch. Naruto caught it and pulled Sasuke forwards, then kneed him in the stomach and kicked him in the chest, sending him back. Sasuke glared at the blonde and threw 5 shurikens at him. Naruto took out one shuriken and threw it to the side of the first one, then his shuriken bounced off Sasuke's, messing up the trajectory. Damn, try this, Sasuke said, going through some hand signs. A tiger seal. He's going to use a fire jutsu. Naruto thought before going through a few hand signs. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. Sasuke sent his fireball towards Naruto. When the attack hit, Sasuke smirked, thinking he won, but what surprised him was that steam rose up from nowhere. When the steam cleared, Naruto was surrounded by a wall of water, causing Sasuke to seethe. Is that all? I guess I'll end this. Naruto said before disappearing and reappearing behind Sasuke. Uzumaki Gravity Prison, Naruto said, before Sasuke was forced into the ground and couldn't get. I can't move, Sasuke said, as his body vibrated on the ground. Since Sasuke is unable to stand, Naruto-kun wins. Mabui said. Naruto nodded and walked towards his team. He gave Samui a high five and Yugito gave him a fist bump. Wow, I can't believe Sasuke-kun lost. Sakura said. Kakashi looked at Naruto and smiled. You're strong and I'm sure you were holding back. I lost. How can I lose to someone that's not an Uchiha? Well, he is the son of a Kage. Sasuke thought before glaring at the male blonde. When I awake my Sharingan, I'll put him in his place. Now that the spar is over, I have a question. Is Uchiha-san your strongest genin? Mabui asked. Why yes he is, why do you ask? Kakashi answered. I wanted to get a good measure on your team abilities. May I assume that Haruno-san is just as strong as Uchiha-san since she's the Kunoichi of the year? Kakashi rubbed his head sheepishly. No, I'm afraid she only became Kunoichi of the year for her book smarts. That explains it, Samui said walking in. In Kumo, we are praised for our strength. While we do have book knowledge, that matters little. What are you trying to say? What my student is saying is, Samui is the Kunoichi of the year but she's also as strong as Naruto-kun. I assume it was the same for you but I was wrong. After your confirmation, it would seem that my team is stronger than yours. And what about you? Sasuke asked. Mad at the Kumo Jonin called them weak. Me. Have you not heard of the Thunder Empress? Mabui asked. Kakashi was shocked. I have. Kumo has a Kunoichi who is supposed to be the fastest person on earth with a new Kekkei Genkai no one ever heard of. That's you? Kakashi asked. That's right. Mabui the Thunder Empress. Mabui confirmed. Sasuke seethed. First the Namikaze, now this bitch seems to have the power he needs to kill his brother. To be the fastest person made it sound like she was untouchable. And to be frank, I'm not the only one with the bloodline. I see. Well, it's good to work with you. Kakashi said. Now to explain the situation. Kakashi told the team from Kumo about their encounter with Zabuza and the Hunter Nin. The Kumo team knew Zabuza was in a death state and the Hunter Nin was in fact since she carried him away. I see. Along with the bandits, Gato is heavily guarded. When Zabuza attacks, we take the chance to kill Gato. After that, Zabuza will have no reason to continue his assault. But will you be able to handle it? Mabui asked. Naruto defeated their strongest genin with no effort and if both their opponents are jonin level, things can become troubling. Don't worry, I was going to train them so they may be ready. It should increase their chances. Kakashi said, piquing his students' interest. But what kind of training are we going to do, sensei? Sakura asked. Tree climbing. Kakashi said with pride. Sasuke and Sakura looked at their sensei confusingly, while Kumo gave a disappointing look to the Konoha Jonin. But we know how to climb trees. Sakura said. Without no hands. Kakashi said, turning to the tree and walking up it. Sasuke and Sakura looked amazed. Excuse me, Hitaki-san. Mabui called out. Yes. How long has it been since they graduated from the academy? About 3 months ago. Kakashi answered. I see. Anyway team, let's go scouting. Mabui said, earning a nod from the Kumo team. Aren't you going to teach your team this exercise? Maybe. It's too hard for them. Sasuke said with a smug look. Mabui narrowed her eyes at the raven head. Sai team, show them and get it over with. The blonde trio approached different trees and proceeded to run up to the very top until they disappeared from view. Soon they came down and looked at Sasuke, Naruto and Yugito with a smug look. Samui gave him a bored look. As you can see, Uchiha. We learned this months ago. Samui said as the group walked away, leaving a jealous Uchiha and a starstruck Sakura. So this is Gato's base? Naruto asked. He and his team were outside a warehouse that was far from town. They discovered it when they followed a bandit to the location. Yugito had her eyes closed. I sense about 30 bandits. There are 2 individuals with chakra levels around Samui and yours, Mabui-sensei. Yugito said. Good, at least we know that Zabuza is the only threat. Mabui said. We should go back. Hi, I wonder how the Konoha team is doing with the exercise. Yugito asked as they jumped away. Well, the Uchiha is struggling, I'm pretty sure. He won't be able to control his thoughts because of his jealousy. Sakura probably completed it on her first try because of her low chakra level and the other guy, Sai. He seems like he's hiding his skills. Naruto commented. Honestly, they shouldn't be here. They're untrained and weak. Samui added in. I was thinking the same, the copy nin is famous in the elemental nation. I found it hysterical that his team was as weak as they were. Mabui said, should we do some training? I would love to spar with you, Mabui-sensei. Samui said, if it's cool with you, I want to test my storm release against you. That would alright, Yugito and Naruto-kun can guard the house and we'll switch up the schedules tomorrow. The team agreed and proceeded to Tazuna's home. When they arrived, they saw Sakura there by herself. When Sakura looked up, she had hearts in her eyes when she noticed Naruto. Naruto-kun, you're back. Sakura said, lunging towards him. Samui pulled her favorite blonde out the way and glared at the pinkett. No touching, Samui said in a cold tone. Who made you the boss? Sakura asked, glaring at the Samui. Samui returned, causing Sakura to gulp. If you have a problem, we can take it outside and spar a bit. Sakura quickly shook her head no. That's what I thought. Soon Sasuke walked in with dirt on him. He looked around the house and landed his eyes on Naruto. You, Namikaze. Fight me, Sasuke demanded. Really? Right now? Naruto questioned. You just got done training and barely have any chakra. You can't even hold your breath. Doesn't matter. I have more than enough to beat you. Sasuke said with confidence. You don't say. Come outside and let me show you something. Naruto said, walking past the Avenger. Sasuke and the rest of the group followed the blonde. Naruto turned to Sasuke and faced the Uchiha. You said, you had enough chakra to face me. I'll make a deal with you. If you can match my chakra level, I'll fight you. What do you mean? Sasuke asked. Naruto smirked and flared his chakra. He was surrounded by a huge blue sphere that was creating a huge gust of wind. Sasuke had to cover his face, while Sakura fell on her butt. The Kumo team just watched Naruto with pride, but the chakra they were feeling was warming their body and the three girls were resisting the urge to submit to Naruto from the power they were feeling, especially Yugito, who was rubbing her legs while licking her lips. Naruto stopped and gave a smirk to the Uchiha. Well, what do you think? That was about 10% of my chakra output. Sasuke gasped and was speechless. 10%? How much chakra does he have? Even if he is the son of the fourth, that's too much for an average genin. Naruto-kun is amazing, he has more chakra than Sasuke-kun and he's hot. Sakura thought. Naruto-kun is amazing as always. I can't wait until we get back to Kumo toward him. Mabui said. Naruto is so cool. I want him. Samui thought with a blush. Damn, Naruto is hot. I want him to take me now, he's definitely a worthy alpha. Yugito thought. Kitten, when we get back to the village, you should drag him to your room and Matabi started before Yugito cut her off with a blush on her face. Kit, you got your mates wanting you to breed them and you humiliated the Uchiha. I'm so proud of you. Kuruma said. Naruto turned to his team and saw them eyeing him with lust in their eyes, making his face turn red. Tsunami soon walked outside and called everyone for dinner. The group walked inside, with Sasuke slowly following while setting in jealousy at Naruto's strength. Kakashi soon came down with Sai to join them for dinner. As they were eating, Samui and Mabui sat next to Naruto, while Yugito sat in his lap like a cat claiming her territory. Sakura was glaring at the Kumo Kunoichi, even though she was sitting next to Sasuke. Why do you even bother? Everyone turned to a little boy, who was glaring at the shinobis. Gato is too strong. He will kill you. That's a risk we're willing to take. Naruto said, cutting in. We risk our lives every time we accept missions like these. And Gato is nothing but a weakling. Even Pinky here can kill him. Yugito said, causing Sakura to glare at her, while Naruto and Samui chuckled a bit. There you go, enjoying yourselves. You wouldn't be making that face if you knew real suffering. Inari yelled in anger. But soon the room was filled with ki radiating from both blonde Jinchurikis. Oh no. Kurama and Matabi thought as they felt their host's anger. Do you know how it feels to be hated by everyone in your village? Naruto asked, drawing everyone's attention but Yugito. Kakashi remembered saving Naruto a couple times from mobs in his village. To be called a freak by everyone around for something you can't control. Yugito added, snatching the attention from Naruto. To be hunted and beaten to the inch of your life. To be ignored when you're hungry or hurt. To sleep in an alleyway. Because you've been kicked out on the street. To have no one to love you. Because you have no parents and everyone else is afraid of you. Naruto and Yugito asked back and forth. Mabui, Kakashi and Samui looked down with a saddened look, while everyone else gasped from they heard from the blondes. Inari, you have a mother and grandfather who love you. I never knew anyone from my family. I never knew my parents either and everyone made fun of me because of something I never asked for. I decided to push everyone away from me. You say you're suffering but the truth is, you don't know what it feels like to be a sacrifice. Yugito stated as she and Naruto headed towards the door. Sensei, can swap shifts. Naruto and I need to spar. So may you guard the house. Sure. Be careful and take as much time as you need. Mabui responded as the two left. I see, she's the same as Naruto. Kakashi said, earning a nod from Mabui. Can you? Don't worry, I won't tell anyone. Kakashi responded, earning a grateful look from Mabui. What they said about their lives is true. Tsunami asked. That was the lighter version of it for Naruto. Kakashi answered. You see, if it weren't for the villagers, Naruto would have been on my team and he would have been living in Konoha. But when he was young, he ran away from the village because of a mob chasing him. The higher ups in our village send most of us who would protect him away on random missions, including me. When I returned, I found out he ran away and hadn't seen him before this week. Kakashi said. Yugito was not as bad since she retaliated but all she wanted was a friend. The only one who ever talked to her was our leader and Samui here. If it wasn't for Naruto, Yugito and even Samui might have been an emotionless shinobi. Mabui said. Inari started to cry and went upstairs. Sakura had her hand over her mouth. Tsunami went after her son and Tazuna just stared at the ground in pity. Naruto and Yugito were both breathing heavily, surrounded in their one-tail cloak form. There were destroyed trees around. I think I've calmed down. Naruto said. Same, can't believe that brat had the nerve to say that. Yugito said as both hers and Naruto's cloaks receded inside them. It's not like he knew our lives. And he's just a kid. Naruto said but then he narrowed his eyes. I sense a lot of chakra in that direction. Naruto said, pointing to a flower field. Yugito turned her head and concentrated in that direction. I feel it too. They're trying to suppress it but it feels like it's around Lojanen. Let's check it out. Naruto suggested. Yugito nodded and followed her alpha. Naruto and Yugito ran through the trees until they arrived at a flower field. They turned to the source of chakra and saw a girl with a pink kimono. Naruto and Yugito nodded at each other before approaching the girl. Excuse me. The girl looked up at them and smiled. How may I help you? We felt a source of chakra and found you here. Who are you? Yugito said, surprising Haku. Well, I'm Haku and I'm a war orphan. I'm just picking flowers because my friend feels sick. Haku answered. Yugito and Naruto studied her and shrugged their shoulders. They could tell she wasn't lying. Would you like some help? I'll appreciate it, Haku said as the three began to pick flowers. Do you mind if I ask you two something? Both blondes looked at her and nodded. What do you fight for? Huh? Both Jinchuriki responded. Why do you fight? You're shinobi, right? Haku asked. I fight so I can be strong enough to protect my homes and the people I care about. Naruto answered. I have important people I want to protect. Yugito blushed. I do too. I want to protect my village and friends. Yugito said, putting her hand on Naruto's. That's good. I believe you can truly grow strong when you fight for someone else. Haku said, standing up with her basket. It was nice meeting you two and have a pleasant day. What do you think, Naruto-kun? Yugito asked. She is well trained and a sensor. When we approached her, she had senbons ready. Could be the hunter Nin mentioned. But everything she said was true, honestly. I don't want to kill her. Naruto said. Well, we won't have to. We know where Gato is, we can wait till Zabuza leaves and destroy the pig. Come on, let's head back to the house. Yugito said, earning a nod from the blonde. When she was about to walk away, Naruto grabbed her hand and pulled her into a kiss. Yugito's eyes closed as she moaned into the kiss and wrapped her arms around her fellow blonde, as Naruto put his hand on her waist. After a minute, Yugito pulled away with a hazy look. What was that for? The conversation made me realize how important you are to me. Naruto, grabbing her hand. Come on, let's head back to the house. Yugito just followed while touching her lips. Way to go, Kit. Kuruma commented. Wow, you must really mean something to Naruto-kun. Matabi commented. Yugito blushed. Now you're guaranteed to take his virginity. Yugito cut her off. We're back. Naruto called. Sakura jumped up and ran to give him a hug. Welcome back, Naruto-kun. Sakura said. Guess what? We have reinforcements. What do you mean? Naruto asked, stepping away from the Pinkett. Well, when we encountered those two Kiri nins, Kakashi-sensei called for reinforcements before we met up. Sakura said. They heard noise coming down the stairs and turned their gaze towards to see the new reinforcement, but when Naruto's eyes landed on one of them, he glared at them. What are you doing here? Naruto snarled, startling Sakura and Yugito. Yugito looked towards the Jonin he was glaring out. It was a woman with raven black hair and red eyes. Naruto-kun, why are you glaring at Kurenai-sensei? Sakura asked. Naruto. Kurenai repeated, looking towards the Kumo nin and gasping in surprise when she saw him. She was about to approach but saw he was glaring at her. I see you remember me. Kurenai said with guilt, remembering their last encounter. How could I forget? You were one of the ones who treated me like a monster. Naruto said. When Yugito heard this, she narrowed her eyes at teammate Sensei. I know, but I would like to apologize. Kurenai said sincerely. Why? Is it because you know who my father is? No thanks, I don't need your pity. Naruto responded. No, it's not because of that. Can we just talk in private? Kurenai asked with a sincere tone. Please, I'm begging you. Naruto looked at, waving his options. Kit, do it. Just hear her out. Naruto was shocked to hear it but nodded. Fine, follow me. Naruto said as he led Kurenai outside. He leaned against a tree and folded his arms. Talk. Naruto-san, I'm sorry. I never attacked you, but I was wary of you, but I had a good reason. You see, when I was a little girl, my father was crushed right in front of me. Naruto's eyes widened but didn't say anything. He was reaching out to me, begging me to be safe. When I saw the paw that crushed him, all I saw was red eyes looking down at me. Kurenai explained. Kit, let me speak with her. Naruto nodded and closed his eyes, confusing the Genjutsu mistress. When he opened it, it was crimson. Greetings, Kurenai Yuhi. Naruto is allowing me to speak to you. What do you want? Kurenai asked in anger. To apologize to you. I'm not sure how much you know, but I was put under a Genjutsu when I attacked your village. I caused so much pain and destruction. Kuruma said, bowing to Kurenai, then lifting his head back up. With that said, you villagers owe the kid a bigger apology. With the way they treated him, you thought you were harming me, but you were dead wrong. You attacked an innocent child and had the nerve to call me a monster, playing the victim role. I'm glad you apologize, but don't expect the kid to just forget what happened in Konoha. He experienced trauma no one his age should have. I said what I had to say, but let me warn you, I care about the kid. So if I find out the kid is in danger, I will kill you and anyone else I deem a threat to him. I understand and thank you. Kurenai said. Naruto's eyes closed and turned back to their cerulean color. Kurenai, I'm glad you learned from your mistake and I understand why you disliked me. And since you never attacked me, I'll forgive you. Naruto said, earning a smile from the Jonin. Then, Kurenai started, but Naruto raised his hand. But I'm not returning. Naruto said, shocking her. Why not? The village learns and sees the difference. They won't harm you anymore. Kurenai said. Like the fox said, I can't forget what they did because their views are different. I was chased out of the village while they hurled weapons at me. I was attacked on my birthdays and sold rotten food. In Kumo, they treat me as their equal and even know of my burden. I'm happy there. Naruto said. What about Anko? Kurenai asked, making Naruto freeze. Ever since you disappeared, she hasn't smiled once. She's cold to everyone and she's the target of most people's hate. I can't get her to open up to me at all, and she told me she won't be happy until she sees you again. Naruto thought about his friend and started to cry a bit. He never realized he would have this much of an effect on the snake mistress, and he missed her. The first friend he had and who actually tried to take care of him. Kurenai analyzed the blonde, seeing the conflict he was facing. I missed hubby-chan, I really do, but I can't turn my back on Kumo. I'll talk to Oldman Rakage and ask about being a liaison, but I'm sure if Hubby-chan was in my shoes, she would understand. Kurenai looked down in sadness. Is there anything I can do to convince you to return? Kurenai pleaded. His answer is no. Kurenai turned to see Mabui approaching the two alongside Samui, who looked a little beat up. The Rakage already gave Naruto-kun the choice to leave if he desired. He's not holding him at the village and still decided to train him. I understand you care for your friend, but in the end it's Naruto-kun's choice. She's right, Kurenai-san. They became family to me and I won't turn my back on him. Naruto said. Kurenai sighed and gave Naruto a weak smile. I understand and I'm sorry how the village treated you. Kurenai said. If you ever need anything from me, just ask. Kurenai said before walking in the house. Samui walked next to Naruto and grabbed his hand. Are you okay? Naruto turned to his fellow blonde and gave a weak smile. Yeah, I'm fine. Naruto then turned to Mabui with a determined look. Sensei, with the other Konoha team. What's the plan? Mabui thought about it. Considering that our mission is Gato, I think we should divide ourselves. Naruto-kun and I will aid Konoha to make sure Zabuza doesn't return to Gato. Samui and Yugito will track Gato down. It's not our job to protect Tazuna, we were hired to kill Gato. We'll leave protecting the family to Konoha. Naruto frowned at this. I know it's not our job, but if you want to protect them, I'll allow it, Naruto-kun. Mabui said with a smile, knowing how Naruto is. Naruto gave her a small smile. Thanks, I'll leave a clone or two and go to the bridge. Good, I guess we all agree. Mabui said, earning a nod from the genin. It was the next day. Naruto and Mabui were with Team 7 and Kurenai is not with her team. Naruto left a clone with Tazuna's family. Mabui was with Kakashi and Kurenai, while Naruto was with Sai, Sakura and Sasuke. Kakashi informed them that Zabuza had an ally and was unsure on how skilled they were. Are we really ready for this? Naruto heard Sakura ask. Don't worry, we have numbers. Sai answered. I won't need any help. I'll handle everything myself. Sasuke said. Naruto didn't say anything and was trying to sense the enemy. He picked up on 2 Jonin-level signatures and narrowed his eyes. They're here, Naruto said as mist started to surround the bridge. Well. It seems you brought reinforcements. I recognize the illusion mistress, Kurenai Yuhi, but the other. Zabuza said, turning to Mabui. It doesn't matter, just know that if I enter the fight, your life is forfeit, Mabui said in a calm tone. Please, you might be a Jonin but you don't look much older than the brats. Zabuza said before turning to the genin and landing his eyes on Sasuke. Look, even one of them is quivering in fear. You're wrong, I'm shaking with excitement. Sasuke said. Zabuza made 3 water clones and they charged the genin. Sasuke smirked and in a blink of an eye, he took out the clones. Sakura was in awe but Naruto was unimpressed and so was Mabui. Looks like you have a rival in speed, Haku. Zabuza said, turning to his tool. Maybe but not in him. Haku said, looking at Naruto. That boy is dangerous, he was not impressed by the Uchiha, which indicates he is stronger. Well, take care of the Uchiha and take out the blonde. Zabuza ordered. Haku nodded and charged forward. Go Sasuke. Kakashi ordered. Sasuke charged forward and the battle began. Naruto observed the battle and frowned. Haku surprised Sasuke but doing one-hand signs jutsu. Not only that, Sasuke was using chakra to match Haku's natural speed and he knew soon Sasuke was going to get tired. He's going to lose if this keeps up. Naruto said, shocking Sakura. How? They look even. Sakura said. Sasuke is using chakra to match Haku's movement and soon he'll get tired and run out. If he awakens his Sharingan, he could have a chance but Haku was better trained. Naruto said. I'll step in if things get too close but only after Sasuke is knocked out. Sasuke turned to the fight with a worried look. Sasuke-kun. Naruto narrowed his eyes when he felt a build-up in chakra coming from Haku. Soon Sasuke was surrounded by ice mirrors and Haku walked in one of them. I guess I should get ready. Naruto said, walking towards the fight. Are you going to save Sasuke-kun? Sakura asked. No, I'm going to save everyone. Naruto responded, walking forward with hands in his pocket. Naruto was outside the ice dome, looking at a punctured Sasuke. Hey, Uchiha, do you need assistance? Sasuke turned to Naruto and snarled. I don't need your help. Okay, I'll stay here and watch you die. Naruto said, making Sasuke scowled. Only an Uchiha can beat an Uchiha. Sasuke said, struggling to stand. You need to do some research, there were multiple people who defeated an Uchiha outside your clan. Stop being stupid. Naruto said. You're too arrogant to be a shinobi, you'll die if you keep this up. Shut up, you know nothing. I'm of royal blood. Sasuke yelled. So am I. And you don't see me being an arrogant punk. Naruto retorted. You have a teammate who cares for you, Kami knows why. Enough, if you don't require assistance, I'll end this. Haku said as she prepared to throw Senbon at the Uchiha. If you want to help, fine. Sasuke said with a smirk as he substituted himself with Naruto. Naruto shook his head as multiple Senbons surrounded. Kuruma. The fox nodded and sprouted 4 of his tails out of Naruto's backside and covered him, protecting him from the onslaught. Thank you. No problem, Kit. I want to end the Uchiha for that stunt. Kuruma said. Naruto chuckled and surprised Haku. That won't work, so why don't you come out? Naruto said. What was that? Haku asked. Something you don't need to worry about unless you continue to oppose me. Naruto charged forward to one of the ice mirrors, but Haku wasn't worried since it was hard to break, but that changed when Naruto's eyes turned red and shattered the mirror she was in. Haku jumped out a piece of the mirror and went for a kick towards Naruto. Naruto grabbed her ankle and tossed her to a mirror, but instead of slamming into the mirror, she went into it. Naruto searched around for her until he sensed her above him, diving at him with a Senbon in her hand. Naruto backflipped away, dodging the attack. Haku got up and her sense of danger went off. She looked up to see Naruto in front of her. Hi, Naruto said before he uppercutted her and kicked her towards a mirror with so much force, the mirror shattered. Haku bounced on the bridge and rolled on it, not getting up. Naruto stopped using the Kyuubi's chakra and walked towards the girl. Are you done? Haku slowly got up. Yeah, go ahead and you can kill me. I lost, which means I have no purpose. Haku-chan, you are my friend. I could never kill you, and besides, our target is Gato. Naruto said, making the girl's eyes widened. You knew it was me? Haku asked. Of course. Naruto said, holding out her hand. And don't worry about the mummy, my sensei will make sure Kakashi doesn't kill him. Haku's eyes widened and she hugged the blonde. Thank you. Haku mumbled in his chest. Naruto hugged her back before he turned his body and blocked a kunai from Sasuke. What are you doing? She's an enemy. Sasuke said. Not to me. And don't think I forgot about your switcheroo. Naruto said, releasing some ki towards the Uchiha. Sasuke started to sweat and back down. Naruto touched a seal near his ear and channeled chakra into it. Mabui-chan, make sure you keep Zabuza alive, I defeated Haku. Affirmative Naruto-kun, I'm watching closely. Mabui said. Naruto nodded and channeled more chakra into the seal for the long-distance call. Samui-chan, Yugito-chan. How's the hunt going? Naruto asked through the seal. Gato left before we got here, but he had a lot of treasure and scrolls. We put them in some sealing scrolls and heading to your location. Yugito said. It's uncool, but I think he's going to try and kill you guys. But he's a fool thinking numbers matter. Samui said. Naruto nodded and looked down at Haku. Gato's headed here to kill us. He probably thinks you and Team 7 are tired from battle, but he doesn't know we're here. Naruto said. Haku separated from the blonde and nodded. Alright, let's head to our sensei location. The two ran to their senseis. Zabuza was surprised, not because he was pinned down by dogs or because Kakashi was about to end his life. He was shocked because the Kumo Nin was protecting him. Move out the way, Mabui-san. No, I have my reasons. Mabui said. And would you like to inform me? Kakashi asked. It's because of Gato. Naruto said, appearing next to Mabui alongside Haku. He's on his way here. Scratch that, he's already here. Wow, look at this. The demon is nothing but a puppy. Gato said, walking out the mist. Gato, why have you come? Zabuza asked, narrowing his eyes. Missing nins are so expensive, but these guys are reasonable, and since you are weak from your fight, your bounty will be a great reward for your sacrifice. Gato said as 50 thugs appeared behind him. Zabuza was about to speak but Naruto stepped forward. It's too bad you're about to die. Naruto said, as Yugito and Samui jumped up to the bridge and landed next to Naruto. Brat, do you have any idea who you are talking to? Gato said, glaring at Naruto before he turned to Haku and smirked. Well, it seems he is actually a she. Gato said. Haku was confused and looked down and saw the straps were undone. And we have a lot of beautiful women who we can break. What was that, you overbloated pig? Naruto asked. That does it, whoever kills the blonde brat gets first pick at the ladies but I want the tanned one. Gato said, making the 4 Kumo nins angry. Soon the whole area was covered in killer intent. Kakashi and Zabuza's eyes widened when they felt the ki from the Kumo nin. Haku fell to her knees and the Konoha genin passed out. Naruto's eyes head was down and he slowly looked up at Gato, eyes crimson red and slit. Gato, I will not let you touch my girls. Naruto said as he got on all 4 like a fox. And I will not let you kill my mate. Yugito added, getting on all 4 with her eyes gold and slit. Rapist is uncool and you will die. Samui said, activating her lightning armor. Prepare for your end, you'll pay for threatening Naruto-kun. Mabui said as she activated her thunder armor. Naruto and Yugito were covered in a red cloak with one tail. Gato slowly backed away. What are you waiting for? Kill him. Gato yelled. Kill them all, girls. Naruto ordered. Hi. The 4 charged the group of mercenaries and slashed through all of the mercenaries, creating a bloodbath all over the bridge. Kakashi was startled by what he was witnessing and Zabuza felt pride. Sai wasn't sure what to feel and Haku was blushing when Naruto said his girl. Gato fell to his butt and was scared. He just witnessed all his hired help being slaughtered. Naruto appeared in front of the businessman and grabbed him by the throat. What now, Gato? You're all alone. Please, don't kill me. I'll give you anything you want. Gato begged. Sorry but it's our mission. Naruto said as he tossed Gato in the air. Kitsune Crimson Flare Bomb. Neko Scorching Mouse Missile. Yugito said. Laser Circuit. Samui said. Thunder Spear. Mabui said as all the Kumo nin unleashed their jutsu at the falling man, blowing him up. Naruto and Yugito's chakra cloak receded inside of them and they took a deep breath as Samui and Mabui deactivated their armor. Missing complete. Mabui said with a smile. What? You're leaving? Kakashi asked as he stood in front of the Kumo team. It's been 2 days since the death of the tyrant known as Gato. Kakashi was able to teach the blonde his signature jutsu and they helped repair the bridge a bit. Zabuza and Haku left to help Kiri in the war. They were outside of Tazuna's house currently with Kakashi, Tsunami, Tazuna and Inari standing in front of the Kumo nin. Yeah, our mission is complete and we have a long way home. Mabui said. Kakashi sighed and looked at Naruto. Well, will you be attending the Chunin exam in Konoha in a month? Naruto turned to Mabui and she gave him a nod. Naruto looked at Kakashi and smiled. Yeah, plus I do miss Gigi. That's good. Kurenai said. Enko will be happy to see you again. And so will Hinata. Naruto gave a sad smile. I miss hubby Haim. Hope she's not mad at me. Don't worry, she understood your situation. Kurenai reassured the blonde. Cool, let's keep it a surprise for her. I might have to treat her to some dango and I miss Ichiraku's. Naruto said. Yugito and Samui smile at Naruto. Seeing their favorite fellow blonde happy was good considering what happened to him as a kid. Kurenai smiled and nodded. Sure and Naruto-kun. I'm still sorry. Kurenai said with guilt. It's water under the bridge. Naruto said. Kurenai approached the blonde and pecked him on the cheek, making him blush. Naruto-kun is ours. Samui said, pulling the blonde towards her. Yugito nodded and wrapped her arms around Naruto's neck from behind. Team, it's time to leave. Mabui said as the team headed back to Kumo. Naruto turned his head and waved at them before the team disappeared. Good job, missing success. Said. He turned to Naruto and frowned. Naruto, how are you feeling? I'm fine. Naruto said. Nodded and leaned back in his chair. Now that we know that the Chunin exam is coming, I'm going to have you and the other 3 train but you'll train with your partners. Naruto and Samui, Fu and Karui and Yugito and Omoi. Also Naruto and Fu need to learn to sustain their Biju forms. A said. Of course, we'll train until we sweat. Samui said. Yeah, we'll be the strongest team there. Naruto said. Good, but Naruto, there's one man I want you to be wary of when you enter the exam. Naruto raises an eyebrow and listened to A. What? Naruto-kun is in Kumo. Hiruzen asked. Kakashi and Kurenai gave him the report of the mission, and to say he had mixed feelings was the truth. He was happy the blonde was alive but was afraid because Kumo has another Jinchuriki and they was known to train them well. Sir, considering the situation, why not invite them to the Chunin exams? If we can get them as allies, Naruto will be free to visit. Kakashi suggested. Hiruzen thought about it and nodded. I'll send a letter to Kumo and Kiri, maybe we can start anew. A month later, Team Ragnarok and Team Aegis arrived at Konoha. Naruto didn't want to admit it, but he was feeling kind of nervous. His former home he ran away from and the memories that were coming back to him. Naruto-kun, it's alright. Naruto turned to Fu, who held his hand. We're in this together, after all. You're my first friend. Naruto gave Fu a warm smile and hugged her tightly, giving her a deep kiss. Fu was entranced by the kiss and couldn't focus. Okay, enough. Karui said, folding her arms in jealousy. Naruto noticed and decided to give her a kiss, shocking the redhead. When Naruto pulled back, Karui was in a daze with a small smile. Man, what am I going to do? What if a lot of girls fall for me and want me to stay here and I'll end up breaking their hearts, making them suffer and want revenge? Omoi began. Omoi, you're being uncool. Samui said in a cold tone. Alright, let's get this show on the road, show how mean this team can be. B said, making everyone groan but Omoi and Naruto. When they approached the gate, they saw two Chunin standing there. Halt, passports. B and Mabui walked forward, handing the Chunin their passports. After looking at it, their eyes widened and they looked up at the students until their eyes landed on Naruto. Naruto, you're alive. Yeah, Naruto said. Do you mind if we head in? Mabui asked. Sure, everything checks out. Hope you enjoy your stay. Kotsu said. The Kumo teams nodded and proceeded into Konoha. As they walked through, the villagers were staring at them but mostly Naruto in shocked. It's Namikaze-sama. He's alive. The fourth S legacy. He's kinda cute. The villagers whispered back and forth. Here's the plan, I'll go book us a hotel. Naruto-kun, you can go see the Hokage and your other friend. Mabui said. Naruto gave her a warm smile and proceeded to the Hokage tower. Naruto ran on the roofs of the building and jumped up to the Hokage's tower. He climbed through the window and saw multiple Jonin leaving the room. Hey Gigi. Hiruzen's eyes widened and turned to the window. When he saw Naruto, tears began to build in his eyes. Naruto-kun, you're here, the Hokage said, getting up and walking towards the blonde. Naruto hugged the old man and it was returned. I'm glad to see you again. Same here Gigi, sorry I made you worry and left. Naruto said. I understand why it happened and I do not blame you. Hiruzen said. So how's life in Kumo? Naruto gave him a foxy grin. It's great, I made some friends and I'm one of the strongest genin there. I assume there's no way to convince you to stay in Konoha, the village changed their views on you and they won't hate you anymore. Hiruzen asked with hope. Sorry Gigi, but I won't abandon them. Naruto said. Hiruzen patted the boy's shoulder and shook his head. I understand, they gave you the love you always wanted and I can't blame you. Thank you. By the way, do you know where Hubby-chan is? Naruto asked. As a matter of fact, I do. She's at the Dango stand. She's in charge of the second stage, so I told her no missions. Hiruzen said, sitting at his desk. Naruto nodded and walked towards the window. And Naruto-kun, welcome back. Naruto gave Hiruzen a small smile. It's good to see you again. Naruto said before jumping out the window. Naruto landed on the roof of a building and headed to the Dango stand to see his first friend. Hubby-chan. Naruto thought. After a few more seconds of running, he saw the restaurant and landed on the street. He walked through the curtains and scanned through the room until he saw Lavender fan-haired. Hubby-chan. Anko's eyes widened and she dropped her dango before turning around. She gasped when she saw her blonde friend waving at her and she did the first thing she could think of, which was tackling the blonde and hugging him to death.